All right, good evening. This is a conference meeting of the Council of the Township of Montclair. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting is included in the annual notice. The meeting schedule is set forth in Resolution R23-277, adopted by the Council at its regular meeting of November 21st, advertised in the official newspaper on December 21st, 23, December 28th, and January 4th, 2024, posted in the bulletin boards outside the municipal building and has remained so at this time. A copy of the annual notice is and has been available to the public and is on file with the Office of the Township Clerk. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Counselor Cummings?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Present.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Present.
Counselor Russo?
Present.
Counselor Schlager?
Here.
Counselor Terry?
Present.
Mayor Spiller?
Present. Thank you. We'll move the agenda with flexibility. First, I've got a proclamation that certainly excited to move tonight, and it's designated January as Muslim Heritage Month in the Township of Montclair. And it reads in part, whereas on April 29th, 2023, Governor Murphy signed a joint resolution number 6 by the Senate and General Assembly of the state of New Jersey, designated the month of January of each year as Muslim Heritage Month. And whereas Muslims are the world's second largest religious group practicing the Islamic faith with 1.9 billion followers, representing approximately 25% of the world's population, whereas there are over 300,000 Muslim Americans in New Jersey, representing one of the largest Muslim American communities in the United States. Their contributions help fortify and strengthen the economy, diversity of the people of our great state, and our local communities. And whereas the Township of Montclair recognizes this monumental achievement from the monumental achievements from the Muslim community and desires to recognize the month of January of each year as Muslim Heritage Month. Whereas the Township of Montclair recognizes and appreciates that the Muslim community has directly contributed to the diversity and positive growth of the township in various fields, including education, entrepreneurship, government, law, medicine, literature, drama, sculpture, music, food, and culture, as well as all aspects of life throughout the United States and abroad, and continues to influence our beliefs and embedded values. Now, therefore, the Mayor and the Township of the Council of Montclair do hereby declare the month of January as Muslim Heritage Month and acknowledge the contributions of all Muslims who continue to enrich all aspects of the Montclair community, and I so move. And without objection, and thank you, and again, really pleased that the Governor was able to move that forward on April 29th from the joint resolution, and certainly I know I've had a number of residents who reached out and certainly who want again to use our bully pulpit to issue proclamations to draw attention and certainly celebrate our rich diversity. So very pleased with that. So thank you very much to my colleagues there.
Mayor, I just want to add that today or yesterday was Haitian Independence Day. It's another recognition we maybe didn't get to do, but I want to just notice that because we have a great group in town, the Lamp for Haiti group that always raises money, Dr. Morgan, but we do want to recognize Haitian Independence Day, January 1st. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. Next, we're going to go to public comment on agenda items specifically. So all speakers, please complete the sign-in sheet over by the clerk, and please come forward for public comments on the agenda items only, please. Anyone wishing to speak to any agenda items? Then please sign in with the clerk and come on over. Is your mic on?
Is it on now?
Yeah.
You hear it? So I'm here again for Clary Anderson. I know you guys are bringing up the RFP tonight, and I just want to urge you to move forward and improve that so we can move on to the next stage of this adventure. Some of the things that I wanted to bring up in terms of kind of reiterating how important it was, Ken Lillian from the Wolves organization just texted me today in anticipation of this meeting that they have a session of learning to play at Clary Anderson. They had 47 kids and families, triple what they had before. And he just gave me this information today, so that's definitely a growing interest here. There's a lot of my friends here from the Nutley organization. They're Montclair residents and also outside of Montclair, and they're people who are having a real hard time getting ice because of organizations like this group called Black Bear. It's evidently an equity group that's going around buying up rinks, raising the prices of the ice. And then my son referees when he's on the weekends, and I just got an email today about the number of rinks that Black Bear has bought up. There's a couple dozen of rinks, around this whole area that they bought up. They raised the price, so the public rinks, for anybody who wants to expand the audience for ice hockey, public rinks like Ronarco, Montclair, other public rinks are really, really important, because otherwise we're going to be priced out of ice hockey. And one of the things that we're in the process of is creating our 501c3 nonprofit. So once the approval goes through, we can start raising money and get work going over there. And another thing is the coaches of MKA and MSH are going to invite all of you guys to the annual Montclair Cup, which is January 19th, Friday, January 19th at 4:15. So hopefully everybody can show up there and get a real taste for a nice local rivalry. It's a good Montclair event. All right, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and we're definitely excited to have that on the agenda today to finally be moving forward here.
Just a quick question, Mayor. Question for you again. This Black Bear Group,
Yes.
they can't buy our rink because, well, we're not selling.
No, but the problem is that all the other
Right.
ones are being bought, raised up, so that puts more pressure on the public ranks
right.
and there's no ice time as it is.
So they just go around buying them up?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is unbridled capitalism, right? Okay, let me just tell you, I keep teaching this. It's great capitalism, but without controls, without regulation, without the government to monitor and watch over it, it's outrageous. It's so free market, they just go buy them all up. then
You're
they put the pressure on us.
to the choir. so.
Yeah, okay, we know.
Thanks.
I'm still not a socialist, but,
Hi, Anna Grossman here, 63 Essex Ave. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm here with my wonderful neighbors. We know that you will be discussing in executive session the legal action that the Montclair Public Schools is bringing against the township so that they can avoid going to the zoning board. And we would just ask you to please give that some thorough reflection and thought, because we really don't understand why residents of Woodman Field need to not be protected in the same way that those who live around MKA's baseball field were protected. We totally get that, like, when it's an educational facility, the mandate is to educate, and so it supersedes, but this is not an educational facility. This is a baseball field used by 30, 40 kids, not during school hours, and it is affecting our quality of life. It's going to affect a lot of different things, and it's already caused massive environmental degradation, eco-shanda, we're calling it, and if all goes well, everybody understands what that means and sees the video that we did about this. We would encourage you all to please not mix up my feelings against artificial turf in that particular matter that you're looking at. This is nothing to do with that. I know we have some soccer fans here. Maradona all the way for me. But this is not about the artificial turf, although I would encourage you also, since you're reviewing a Green Acres application, to please make sure that nothing is being used there that is in any way of concern, like poured in place and synthetic turf, because they all have the same environmental and public health concerns with PFAS. So we really would just encourage you to please protect residents, because we are about to wake up in front of a 40-foot fence in front of our homes, noise levels that haven't been studied like the MKA ones were, and a lot of different other issues that happen when you build a stadium, basically, in front of people's homes. Thank you very much.
And just to add to that, we have tried numerous times.
Name.
Oh,
and
I'm
address.
sorry.
No problem.
I'm Nancy Ioannis. I'm Anna I've lived here for a long time. I wrote all of you. I wrote all of you in the last week on Friday and explained to you. I mean, we have honestly been through this before, but the last time this came up big was when the field house went up, and the Board of Education then brought us into meetings, and they ended up moving the building to the back. Here, we've been excluded every time we've tried to have a meeting. In fact, we were supposed to have a meeting tomorrow that was canceled again until January 18th. So it continues to happen. No Oprah requests have been filled. There have been numerous put in. Everything we've tried to do has gone on deaf ears. So I encourage you, our last resort is have the zoning board support us as longtime residents of Montclair that deserve to be heard in this matter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mayor, I'd just like to, are you on this topic too?
I am on this
Go ahead,
topic,
go ahead.
yes. Thank you. I'm Erin Bullen. I live at 17 Champlain Terrace, and I'm here to show you what that looks like. This is Champlain Terrace right now. These are our homes. These guys don't, Allison lives on Champlain. These guys live on Essex. This is the corner of Champlain and Essex. You were told by the Board of Ed that this was a baseball field renovation, improvement. If this looks like that to you guys, I would be surprised. This is massive construction equipment, massive. That's a tipping dumper. I have a 4-year-old. It's huge. That is a full-size excavator. This is not a baseball field renovation, and what they have submitted to you is false. They said, I believe, 3 words to the effect of baseball field renovation, but this is massive, massive, heavy equipment. There is dust on our homes. I can smell it inside of my house. Where are the permits? We as residents need to be protected from this kind of horrendous, oh my gosh, what did you say, unbridled capitalism, Mr. Russo? It is unbridled capitalism, and it is being driven by our Board of Ed. And we as residents are begging you, please hold them to account. Have them go through the same process as everyone else. This is not educational. The Department of Education has instructed them to give you the plans. I have the letter with me here today. I've already emailed it to you. Please, please protect us. There's reasons we have all of this stuff in place, and it is to keep residents safe, to keep residents healthy. And our Board of Ed is doing the opposite of that, and we need you to keep us safe. So please do not let this slip through your fingers, slip through the cracks, or all of the loopholes that we have found everywhere. Please.
Are you going to talk on this topic? No, I thought what she just said, because I have to respond. I have to respond because I have a courtesy to respond to my friend Allison, who's been a friend of mine since I moved here, and my mother and her mother went to the Upper Montclair Women's Club's luncheons every month, and my mother felt so close to her mother. So Allison Sargent, I apologize for not getting back to you today, but I've been trying to respond to hundreds of messages from people from over the holiday weekend. And I said in my response on this one to the people who are on the council and to the Board of Ed members, I sent it to all the Board of Ed members and to the superintendent, I said, I'm just so upset about this. Why can't our town manager, the town attorneys, the superintendent of schools, the BOE, and the mayor all communicate with these residents and try to work this out? Now, one of the residents I answered just said to me, it's hopeless. It can't be worked out. They don't respond. I don't understand that. Let's make a New Year's resolution to communicate with each other at least. Here it is, January 2nd. At least communicate. I know we do. We try to respond. One of the residents acknowledged that at least the mayor and council try to respond, you know. Councilwoman Schlager's been in meetings with residents. I know Allison all my life here. I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. The Board of Ed is now completely separate from us. If we had the leverage of being the appointed board by the mayor and having the Board of School estimate, which 3 of us would sit on, yeah, we'd have some leverage over budgets, but we don't have any control over the Board of Ed. But of course, you brought up about the zoning issue, so I hope that Janice Talley can do something on that, and I think we should pursue. If they didn't get the right permits, they didn't do things the right way, we should enforce that across the board. They're not exempt. It's like unbridled capitalism, as you said. So I just wanted to make that apology to Allison for not getting back to her, but any of the residents from that area, we need a field, we want a field, we're not against the field, we just don't want to destroy the neighborhood with big fencing, all this digging going on, all this construction, the field, artificial field, and also the noise and dust and dirt for maybe a 6-month or year period. I mean, why doesn't anybody give you the input that you need? I don't understand the Board of Ed. I don't understand it. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Hi, I'm Matt Berliner. I'm an executive on the board for the Nutley Clifton Hockey Club. Not as young as I once was, so excuse me here. I just wanted to go over some points about our club and how important clarity is to it. Our hockey club dates back to 1977. We've been playing at Clarity since the beginning. We are a 501c3 charity. Not a single member of our club takes a penny for their efforts. 5 years ago, we were 18 volunteers and 80 players. This year, we're 69 volunteers and 147 players. 147 players from 49 different towns. Montclair, Nutley, Clifton, Glenridge make up the majority of us. So 49 different towns, these kids come to Clary to play. Our club follows the rule that hockey is for everyone. We have 13 in-need players on full scholarship or reduced tuition. Without a lower cost Clary, our club would not be able to absorb the cost of these kids playing for free or at a reduced tuition. We do not cut players. If a player is not ready to play in a game, we allow that player to practice, to be a practice player until they are ready to play. Their tuition is also reduced until they're ready to play in games. This season, we have 162 practices and games at Clary, 10 different teams. If Clary no longer existed, it would be impossible for us to find 162 ice slots at the neighboring rinks. I know at the last meeting, someone mentioned, well, you know, what about Cody? We play all over. We called Cody. We got all their available ice that they had left. It was nine practice slots. That's all they had left. Their book's solid. This season, our members have traveled up to an hour for practices and games. We've traveled to Bridgewater, Westfield, Newark, Hackensack, Morristown, West Orange, just to name a few. We still have a few gaps in our schedule, and we've rented out local turf fields for the kids to work out and spend time with the coaches, but it's not the same as being on the ice. I probably have twice as much. Is it all right if I keep going?
I'm holding everyone to the two. Thank you, though.
What's that?
I'm holding everyone at the same time. But thank
Okay,
you.
all
Thank
right.
you.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you had a good holiday and off to a good start on New Year's. I'm Allison Sargent, a lifelong resident of Champlain Terrace. My family's been there for 4 generations. I don't know quite what to say about this situation as I started off in early September about the disappointment I feel about the dysfunction of this town right now. I can't even imagine all of the people that I knew that ran this town, many of my family's friends, that worked tirelessly. They weren't paid, they donated, they did everything. I have been on the Salvation Army Board for 25 years. I've chaired it for 6 years. I run the Cornerstone Homeless Shelter that's abuts this property. I've had nothing but good experiences over the years with people in this town donating to the underprivileged and people in need. What's going on at Woodman Field isn't because I live there or generations of my family live there. It's about the precedent that you all are setting in this town for awful things to come. And I want you to take responsibility for that, because if you don't take this project in front of the zoning board, your insurance policies are going to be liable for all that's going to happen. And it's going to be awful. I hear about how fast you can drive. Do you know how fast people drive up and down Champlain Terrace? Our dog was hit and almost killed and almost hit my 6'5" husband because they were going 75 miles an hour down Champlain Terrace. Do you know what's going to happen when that field gets rented and is able to have people come and go at all hours of the day and night up and down that street in Essex Avenue? Please be prepared for the consequences of you not knowing legally that the zoning board saw this case. I beg you, just please get collaboration going. It's all that we're asking for. You just did it on Lloyd Road. I know you can do it again. I trust each and every one of you. I really do.
Thank you.
Hello. It's on.
Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Evan Task. I live on 173 Orange Road. I'm here with my teammates to talk about Clary. I talked last time about how much Clary means to me, just personally, but now I'm gonna talk about what it's gonna mean to like the whole hockey organization of North Jersey, because as a few people mentioned who came up before me, North Jersey is running out of ice because everyone's booking it. And so the more losses of rinks, the more damage to the whole hockey program, so we can't lose anymore. It's really important to keep all the rinks we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Hello, my name is Jacob Peruzzi. I live on 17 Yale Terrace, and Clary means everything to me, and I love it here. And if you do a lot of damage, it takes a while and a lot of like instruction to build everything on Clary, and that it loves in my heart, and I don't want it to fall down. It's just, I love it there, and it's what it means to me.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eli Coppola. I live on 107 Claremont Avenue. As Zevin said, we are actually running out of ice since we've been using that ice for so long, and if that does happen, it will take if we run completely out of ice, it will take a while to rebuild, and it's not that beneficial for other people that are close to the rink, like Jacob or me. So we would have to drive 15 to 20 minutes to get to the other closest ice rink. And that would be for multiple months. And there's also some things that we don't use in there that is actually taking up a lot of space, like the Zamboni outside that other people have probably not used for maybe 11 years or more. So we could actually use that space to put more hockey equipment or resources there, and that's why that rink means so much, because I've actually been there since I was about 5 years old, and now I'm 9. So I've been there for maybe about I've been playing there for about 4 years. I've been on the Nutley Clifton team for maybe 3 years, and it would break my heart to see everything destroyed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Spiller and council, Happy New Year. There's not much more I could possibly say after you just listened to 3 heartfelt speeches by our 9-year-old team members for Nutley Clifton. But I can say that my wife and I have raised our family here. We have lived here for now 23 years, right down the street, District 2, Councilwoman Schlager, Rutgers alumni, Mayor Spiller. And we love this town. And we bought that house on Yale Terrace, right down the street from Clary, knowing that we would have kids and one day would raise them to play sports. Clary was a draw for us. That place is an institution. It's part of the heart of this town. And it would be to the detriment of the culture of this town to see that go for God knows what, rather than reinvest in it and create something that is really more of I consider to be more of a cultural center for kids to build around a community, which is really what we're all about and why we first moved here 23 years ago. But again, I think you heard it from the 3 boys before me. I think that was enough. But thank you for your time, and we all here look forward to you doing the right thing. Good evening.
Thank you.
Mayor Spiller, council folk, it's great to be here. My name is Victor Coppola. I live at 107 Claremont. My son Eli just articulated probably better than I could the meaning that Clary Anderson has for us. For those of you who don't know, Clary Anderson was a great football coach in this town for many, many, many years. I found out about that from Gary and Willie Gaynor, who own Gaynor Automotive right around the corner from where I live at 107 Claremont down this street. What Clary means to me is more than I can state, but I'd like to share some stories with you guys. I think it's, we could sit here and reason, but the only reason that I've been brought to a political forum like this is to talk about the importance of the institution and how much it's affected the relationships that I have, not only with my own family, but with my neighbors and with my community. I love Montclair, as I'm sure all you guys do, as I'm sure everybody does in this room, or else we wouldn't be here. It's a great center of culture, of sport, of politics, of civic engagement, and there is not one place that I can name that's better at doing that than Clary Anderson Arena. The problem with it, though, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced when you were growing up having friends over to your house. This is my home. The town is my home. When I invite friends and my sister and my parents from Florida up to this town, I show them the town with a lot of pride. I don't like showing them Clary Anderson Arena. I'm sure if you guys have walked in there recently or any time in the past 10 years, you've seen a Zamboni, as my son has said, that's broken down, that's sitting outside the rink. You've seen a broken down park that you guys renovated over the past few years. That's wonderful. But I'd like to invite the people of New Jersey, the people of this country, to come in, visit this town, and bring them into Clary. It's a place that has an extreme amount of people coming in and through it, and we host many other towns in the New Jersey area. So would appreciate you guys voting to renovate and move forward with all the proposals that come before the council. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Sorry
so
for
much.
going over.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nate Rothstein. I live on 5 Yale Terrace. I'm Greg's neighbor. We did not know about Clary when we moved here, but we were very surprised. We were very happy when we heard the sounds of hockey when we were down by Essex Street. So I'll just echo all those comments. I'm just going to add a little bit more on some of the costs that were put together. So Clary costs about $425 per hour of ice time. And the highest that our clubs had to pay this season is $677 per hour, having to go to Bridgewater. So that's about $250 more per hour, $250 more plus an hour's drive just to get over there. Our average cost this season was $525 per hour. So that's $100 more than Clary. And as was discussed, Clary is a low-cost option for our club. So that allows us to be a low-cost option for the people in the town. And it's not just about Clary, it's about Montclair. We've calculated that we spend about $225,000 per year on ice time across New Jersey. But the economic impact our club to Clary is further than just the ice rentals. We'll play 105 games at Clary. That means that teams are coming from outside of Montclair to our town as far as Atlantic City to play those games. That's about 40 additional people per game. That's 4,200 people per hockey season coming to Clary to play here. And when they come, they ask us, where should we eat? What should we do when we're in the town? So it brings a lot of extra activity, just having the rink and having the hockey going on there. So they visit the local Montclair establishments on a regular basis. They order food. They pick it up after practice, during the games. We have team dinners and the Montclair eateries. And our 10 and under team just had a team dinner at Piz on North Willow Street in Montclair. They still remember it, yeah. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nick Mandarakis, 561 Park Street, Mayor, Council. I was going to speak a little bit. I'm a volunteer hockey coach. I got 2 kids that play. They're not here tonight because one's in Morristown and the other one's like ironbound, so they're spread all over the place. So we got a rink in our backyard, and our club, we're driving all over the map to get our kids to practice. We have a coaches chat, and if you saw it, it's like a full-time job every day, seeing what rink we're going to, who's got pucks, who's bringing equipment, and it's all volunteer, and it's just for the kids. I grew up playing at Clary. I was probably about these guys' age, 9, 10 years old, and I spent every weekend there, not just playing hockey, but public skate. Friday, Saturday nights, we used to do public skate. Mom would drop us off when we were 12, 13 years old, and we'd spend every, Friday, Saturday night there. It was something to do. It was a lot of fun, made a lot of friends. But I spent, a lot of time there, and Clary looks exactly the same as it did when I was there. It smells the same. Nothing has changed, which is why I love it. But when you bring new people in, as they said, it's a little off-putting. Let me try to finish the rest of this, because this are some important points here. It's not just about hockey. Saturday mornings, our coaches and our older players volunteer with alumni from the New Jersey Devils and participate in a Learn to Play. Learn to Play is a casual practice that exposes future players, typically 8 years older, to the sport of hockey. We had 48 kids participate in our Learn to Play this season. We've organized successful food drives for Tony's Kitchen here in Montclair. Each team had 2 collections at Clary during games. We made visiting teams aware of it. They helped contribute as well, so we collected hundreds of pounds of food for Tony's Kitchen. College scholarships. To date, since 1994, our club has had a total of $173,000. I know my time's up, but maybe someone else can finish this.
Thank you for hearing us out. My name is Lauren Hirschberg. This is my daughter, Charlie. I grew up here in Montclair. Lived my whole life here. Moved away, moved back. I'm not going to talk about the kids. I mean, my daughter learned to skate at Clary. My son learned to skate at Clary. I played Montclair Blues. I played Montclair High School. I won state championship. But I'd say the biggest thing, and the kids are important, but for me, personally, I didn't have a sense of community when I moved back to the neighborhood. And then I ran into the guys I played youth hockey with, who played every Sunday night, and I started playing. And now I play 3 or 4 times a night, or 4 times a week, and I have a sense of community. This goes beyond just youth sports. This is a part of Montclair, and all the guys I play with, they're all Montclair athletes. Most of them grew up here. Most of them were varsity athletes. Most of them played at MKA. Most of them played at MHS. This is a part of our town. This is the fabric of the community, and it's named after a man who is the fabric of our community. And beyond that, this is what this is about. This isn't about hockey versus non-hockey. This is Montclair. There's history here. Love it. Love it or leave it. But you guys are the ones who are in charge of loving it. You've been elected to love it. So do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Spiller, council members, thank you for taking the time. Happy New Year to everyone. I'm speaking about Clary Anderson as well. I just wanted to say I'm brand new to the community. I've lived here for about 1 year. I'm 31 Essex now. And I want to echo just saying that's such a key part of the community for us. My son plays hockey there now. We've met a ton of friends. And it's been very important to us. And my daughters are 6 years old and hoping to learn to play soon. And they're also taking skating lessons there. So just want to echo what an important piece of the community this is. And it's been very welcoming for us joining the community. Thank you. Michael McLennan.
Hello. Happy New Year. I'm Carmel Lockman, 26 Walnut Street. So I have no qualms with doing whatever you decide to do with the arena. It sounds like a great idea, what people are talking about. However, I'm interested in good government, and I have a question about the ordinance R24004. It strikes me that there were 2 responses and a vastly different amount that they're proposing. One, the Aubrey Group, who seem to be a bunch of grant writers, are charging $63,000. The CME Associates, who often we see stuff from them come before the planning board, are municipal engineers, all kinds of municipal engineering they do. They're consulting for all municipal type projects, and their amount that they quoted was $175,000. So to me, I just wondered, did they quote on the same project? What were the, I mean, I hope that they did, but one would certainly wonder if they quoted on the same terms. I don't know why a grant writing group and a municipal engineering group are comparable. So I'd like to know, you said after review of the proposals, the price and other factors considered, that you've selected Aubrey Group. I'm wondering if you could tell me what made you select that group, given what I understand the project to be, which is, I guess, it's a strategizing on what we're going to do with the Clary Anderson Arena.
Well, yeah, we'll speak to all points at the end. Thank you.
Again? Okay, thank you, and Happy New Year. Sorry,
Happy
I don't
New Year.
mean to be, I'm not critical, I'm just trying to figure out how government works. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Looking forward to the coming year, a lot of work to do in the township. My name is Kathleen Bennett. I live on Glenwood Road, and I'm the chairperson of the HPC. I'm asking the council to vote positively for Resolution R24-002. It's a resolution to apply for New Jersey Historic CLG grant. And some of the history in this, I just thought it would be, I sent everybody a message today with a map. In 2022, we applied for a grant which was based on the commuter district, which is in Upper Montclair. There were over 600 properties. The amount of money that we received was almost $50,000. The grant consultant could not survey all those properties for that amount of money, so we broke the grant up, and we had 431 properties surveyed. What we're doing now is going back to ask for additional monies to have the additional property survey, and also to ask for more properties along the strip of Park Street to the east of Park Street. So altogether, this grant, I believe, is 221 properties, and it's in the amount of $30,000. Anyway, that's on your agenda for tonight, and I hope you look favorably upon it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
Good evening. Happy New Year. My name is Lonnie Summer Padilla, and I'm a resident of Montclair. Couple of things I want to touch upon. One, the first is this 2-minute time limit and going into public comment after the executive session. I ask that if you do that, that you make meetings virtual, where we would allow for virtual comment to have people waiting here after, while you're in executive session just to do public comment, I think is a little unfair. So if that's what you are going to do, please allow virtual comments. Also, I know you're going to be introducing the temporary budget. I am begging you to please allocate some pilot funding to our schools. Just the same way that we have kids here tonight speaking for Clary Anderson. If there is no pilot money going to our schools, come May, you will see not just a repeat of last year with this room filled over capacity with children crying, knowing that it was your decision that made it happen that way. It will happen again, and I know it's election season this year for all of you. I urge you to really consider and really just do it at this point. There's really no reason not to. Parsippany is having the same issue, other towns as well. And Councilman Russo, I know you said you hope that the Board of Ed and the town can communicate. I hope so too. I think there's no reason that shouldn't happen. Cedar Grove managed to do it. They managed to have their Board of Ed work with their town council to come up with an agreement for pilot funding to go to the district. Please, please, please do that. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Christina Thomas. I'm a Montclair resident. Mr. Spiller, you said that questions will be answered at the end for the past 4 years. I went through all the meetings. You never answer the questions at the end. I wish that you would. As for the agenda, there are 11 items, A through K, on the agenda. How is it reasonable for people to speak succinctly within 2 minutes to each of those items? It appears that the purpose of curtailing public speech is to eliminate the public's ability to be heard until after the council has already done damage and violated the law. In 2021, the town got Neglia Engineering to do a feasibility study of Clary Anderson Arena. I believe that contract went over budget and ended up costing us about $400,000. That study found that the condition of the current building unsafe and needed to be demolished and rebuilt. Mr. Wood is an engineer and head of public works and has relevant expertise and presented it to you. Now, why are we doing that study again? Resolution R24004 authorizing a contract with it authorizes a contract with the Aubrey Group. How is the grant writer, the Aubrey Group, who contributed to Sean's campaign, according to ELECT, qualified to do an engineering assessment for Essex Park? The resolution's unclear, and so is the scope of work. Resolution heading says feasibility study of Essex Park. Body of the resolution says evaluation of design options of Essex Park, including Clary Anderson Arena. Did you all see the proposal? Did you see the scope of the services requested? How can you be even thinking about approving that? I also have a concern about the resolution for executive session R24012 that appears to be addressing the status of the interim township manager, Mr. Lapolla. It appears to be a plan to make Mr. Lapolla permanent after executive session tonight. What happened to the search that GSG got hired and paid to perform? Also, why would Montclair want to give a top position in its government to some white guy from South Jersey? Do we not have a qualified person locally
that's
that
your
could
time
reflect
and
our
please, your
time
comments
and our values?
about a white guy from anywhere. We don't get into that here. So no.
We value
No.
diversity,
Yes, and we're not talking
and
about
we're
a white guy.
thinking
from
about
wherever.
hiring Mr. Lapolla,
That's
who may or
inappropriate.
may not be qualified,
It's inappropriate.
but who also has a conflict and is collecting a pension.
I appreciate
Is he
your
going to put his
comments.
pension
Thank
on
you.
hold?
Thank you for your
Why don't
comments.
we have anybody qualified, and why aren't we doing the proper search? That's what GSG was hired to do. Are we getting our money back? It's my money that you're spending, and you're doing it improperly. I think Mr. Lapolla may be great, but we were supposed to do a search. You were supposed to do a search, and you didn't. It's my time too.
Could be everybody's time if it was 3 minutes or 4 minutes like Verona. This 2-minute limit is ridiculous.
It should be 2 minutes per resolution.
Please.
Good night and Happy New Year.
Happy
I'm
New Year.
Mariana Horta. I live on Gordon Rust Avenue in Montclair. So I'd like to speak to the budget and again remind you that Cedar Grove can take care of their schools with pilot funding because they have taken those properties off the tax rolls. And if those properties paid taxes, then property taxes would be lower in their town. So they understood that and they took care of their schools and they're sharing pilot funding with the schools. That is not in the preliminary budget. It looks to me as if each and every one of you cares less about Montclair schools and Montclair's children than Cedar Grove cares about their schools and their children. Do better, please. Put down the preliminary budget. Don't vote yes on a budget that does not take care of our kids and our schools with pilot funding. Montclair abuses the long-term tax abatement law. You get away with it, but you abuse it. And that puts a very high cost on Montclair taxpayers. We pay the highest average taxes of any municipality with a population between 30,000 and 50,000 people. That is a lot. It's disproportionate to the level of services we have in this town. It's abusive. I don't see any discussion of changing that. At a minimum, these properties that have been taken off the tax rolls, that should be paying taxes and therefore reducing our taxes, must be contributing to the school district. And at a minimum, to cover the cost of educating the kids that these properties are sending to the school district. Because otherwise, I am paying to educate the kids that those rich developers are sending to our school district. It's not fair. It's not right. It's not right to our kids. If Cedar Grove can do this, you can do. Otherwise, you're worse than Cedar Grove. Think about that. I think you pride yourselves, right? At a minimum, we're Democrats, right? And since I have, well, I don't.
Thank
do
you.
better. Care about kids.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Rabacki. I'm a resident of this town. I just wanted to speak briefly about the, well, 2 minutes is brief, about the lawsuit that you're dealing with in executive session. And I think that, to Councilor Russo's comment, I'm a little bit concerned. I'm going to change my remarks accordingly, is that he didn't feel he could do anything about it. My understanding is that we own 2/3 of the property that comprises Aubrey Lewis. Okay. What we did was we signed an agreement, a deed agreement, to let the Board of Education have control over improvements and use. Okay. But this is about land. And you have a responsibility to the land. And you have a responsibility, I think, as someone else said, to run this through a process that we are told protects us. Our land use boards protect us and protect the character of this town. And it protects the safety of this town too. And by allowing the Board of Education, which we all know has not built the level of trust anywhere near where it should, to do this is just really wrong. And I will specifically point out to our attorney and to the 2 councilors who reside in the 4th Ward that they might have a special interest and the public. And that is because it does involve our land. I think we need to counsel certain councilors, no disrespect, in recusing themselves from the conversation tonight. Councilor Schlager, I would think you might want to consider it. I think Mayor Spiller, I think you might want to consider it, and maybe even Councilor Russo. The other thing is, my big issue is stormwater. Whether forever okay, well.
Thank you.
If you guys want to know my thoughts on it, reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, hi, my name is Eileen Birmingham. Happy New Year. I'm just here about the temporary budget, which of course I understand is really required by law holdover with some adjustment from the previous budget. But I just want to point out to everybody, because as we're hearing here, there's a lot that this town needs. And there's a lot that goes into the concept of safety. And as a former pediatrician, I'm really, it's inspiring to hear all the children here, because the idea of recreation, sports, community is really vital to people's well-being and their safety, in fact. And there's a lot of data that supports that. But in the temporary budget that we have here, we have almost 50% of our money going to the police and fire department. And I know I say this a lot, but we have no data. We are not shared any data as to why we need such big public safety sectors in this town. When you look at last year's user-friendly budgets, if you combined Westfield's plus Parsippany's public safety personnel, you would still need $3.5 million to get to reach Montclair's. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable in our town with a 89% residential tax base to spend like this. And again, the little data that we do get, I believe it was in 2020, the fire chief presented that essentially fewer than 1% of the calls that they go on are actual structure fires in the town of Montclair. Fewer than 1%. They go to a lot more outside of Montclair, and in fact, they receive very little mutual aid and less than mutual aid than apparently Cedar Grove receives. But again, this is really just respectfully asking about sustainability for our town and all of the other things that we need here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Inquiring minds want to know, where is the data supporting tonight's budget vote? What criteria have you used to evaluate the budget decisions you are making? No department has publicly presented data. Have there been private presentations? Are there departmental annual reports? If not, why not? Are you just rewarding buddies and insiders? Are you using a Ouija board or throwing darts at a dartboard? Is there some measure you are using? If so, you have to share that with us because of sunshine laws. Now, regarding the last meeting, Mr. Cummings thought that it's citizens who need to report problems with the police department. When I outlined a culture of non-enforcement, you are responsible for holding the police chief responsible for the culture, and all of you are. It is not a citizen's job. That very specifically is your job. Okay? Passing a new speed limit is wonderful, but it's completely performative if you are doing nothing about actually enforcing it. What are you doing to make sure the speed limit is actually the limit that cars travel at? What are you doing to make sure we have a culture that promotes the safety of the kids in the bike bus, of pedestrians, of bike riders, of other drivers? Up and down Bloomfield Avenue, the main thoroughfare of this town, it is painfully obvious and clear to everyone that there is no enforcement of the parking laws. The other day I drove down Bloomfield Avenue, 35 illegally parked cars. How is this going on all of the time? I brought this up last meeting, and none of you expressed an interest in doing something about it. I'd like to know if anything has been done or if anyone has an intention of doing anything.
Thank you. Wait till then.
Okay. Happy New Year. It's 2024. Happy to be here tonight. Ahava Felicidad, your favorite president and first founder of the tenants organization of Montclair. We grew again today. I am happy to see you all here tonight. I would also like to see, and I didn't anticipate having to even address this, a change to the length of time given for public comment. Returning to the 3-minute minimum, the 3 minutes for individuals and the 5 minutes for organization leaders, or something better. Yes, a bar has been set that allows for better communication when speaking for those who can write it out. They write out what they wish to say, deliver it, and hopefully have it received well. We will continue to make adjustments. However, I'll rephrase it. I encourage you to reinstate a minimum 3-minute public comment. Our time need not be invested in asking for more time. The Tenants Organization of Montclair Facebook page, at Tomb Advocacy, will be updated to include the meet and greet times. I continue to thank many of the members of our community who participated in the rent control movement, the revitalization of, to make sure that our tenants who wish to stay can stay. I'm sorry that we have lost many, but many do also remain. These were outside on the day of the April 7, 2020 call.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, with that, we'll close comments on all the agenda items, specifically just ending with that one. I know that we're all very pleased to have passed the rent control law, one of the biggest things that we have done in town here in decades, so really proud of that. With that, going backwards in some of the pieces, Mr. Lapolla, I'll turn to you just to speak to, I know the CFO has in previous years explained the temporary budget process and what's required under the law and why it is introduced in this manner. But if you want to speak to that briefly as to why townships have to introduce a temporary budget and why it is a template from a previous year that then gets modified in the budget process that was alluded to. But go ahead.
Sure, Mayor. Under New Jersey state law, we are required to introduce a temporary budget until the final budget is adopted and is not to exceed 26.25% of last year's budget. So that's the basis for the numbers that you see attached to the resolution.
Right, they're just a percentage prorated of all those numbers, correct?
Yes, sir.
The process, and then the formal budget process, which occurs, follows.
Yes.
Can you, please, Councilwoman?
Thanks. And so, Mr. Lapolla, so to the extent that I understand that was a formula, I didn't invest a lot of time in debating with my colleagues to this point, because we haven't even been presented the budget, as to where we should maybe reapportion or more this, less that. We
Yes.
haven't had any of those conversations.
No, not yet.
So I understand that this is our duty to sort of ensure that there is funding for the town to continue to operate. It's an estimate somehow that the state decided on that number, and that's
Yes.
what we are passing tonight. It is not with all the due care and thought that we will be, so this is for information.
Mr. Lapolla, if you'll also speak to the other item, which is, I believe was mentioned about parking enforcement. I believe you'll have.
Oh, yes, I just wanted to mention that at our next meeting, which I believe is January 30, the police department will be making a presentation on enforcement at the public meeting.
Some of the numbers, I assume, as to what they've been doing.
Yes, they'll be discussing at length enforcement numbers, et cetera.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And specifically, just note, because it was mentioned too about bids, and I believe what the first question was asked about why there's such difference in bids at times. Remember some of the ones that always stand out to me. Tree plantings is one where I see $100,000 differences every year and always surprises me. Can't explain why people will bid what they do. Snow removal is another one. We see drastic differences otherwise. But the bottom line is under the law, we've got to put out bid specs and entities have to provide their answers. And then, of course, unless we see some specific compelling reason why not to go with the lowest bidder, we go with the lowest bidder. That's specific to that. But as we look through all these pieces and we analyze that, Mr. Lapolla, I know you look at them and then make a determination, correct?
Yes, and the difference between these two had to do with the fact that the one that was more expensive required a lot of the more engineering and environmental components of this that have already been completed in previous studies. So that was the differential.
Okay, helpful. Thank you.
I have so I don't know if all of you have, but I requested the two proposals. And again, this is what we got from GSG. This is what we got from CME. And Aubrey, yeah, not GSG. And I think the concern I have is that I believe it was maybe a year and a half ago where Councilor Schlager, Councilor Price Abrams, Mayor, and myself met with engineering groups and did a walkthrough of Clary Anderson and requested that those groups submit to us recommendations of the area. I haven't seen any recommendations. Also, I know that our current engineer, Neglia, have presented to us recommendations of Clary, including potentially enclosing the pool, as well as upgrade to the arena and the area around it. So my point here is that we've already had this done. We have this information. I don't see why we have to go out and spend anything when we know the potential cost of a complete renovation is around $30 million. We know the public wants this done, and therefore what we really need to do is basically get real proposals in here of what are required to do Clary Anderson with the understanding, because we have this information. That's what's alarming to me. We've walked it. I haven't received anything from those groups, but I know I met with Norberto and Steve Wood about 2 years ago, and Norberto has designs, and there have already multiple designs already in place in the township. So this is just, it's a waste of money because we've already done this work. And I was surprised that was on here because the last time we talked, you said we'd allocated about $50,000, and that would be a couple of weeks before we got responses. And then the 2 responses that we received, again, it's similar to when we went out for the traffic study on Lackawanna Plaza. CME was one of the groups that responded. And now we have a group that we brought in to basically do grant writing services. And when I looked at their proposal, again, I'm not sure this is something that they've done before. They have gone out and done community assessments, but the work that's required of what we need to get an understanding of what's done at Clary Anderson, I don't see that in this proposal. I see it as a way of going out, meeting with the community, saying, hey, what do you want? We already know what the community wants. What I see with this is examples of work that have been done before in other cities of what we need. And this is more of what we need, not this. This is just a waste of money. And so, and $60,000 is a lot of money. So I want to make sure that my counselors, I don't know if you all have received the proposals I asked for. Thank you, Ms. Lapolla. Thank you, Angelise, for sending it to me. So it's available to you, and I trust before you move on anything that you really look at the 2 and understand that it's the most responsive bid, not the cheapest bid. And this is not responsive to what we're talking about. And to the community members out there, no one up here said we do not want an arena. I'm on the record as saying that what I want is a quality arena. And what our own people have told us is to do that, it needs to be torn down. You've been in the arena. I was in that arena when it was outdoors. I learned how to skate at Clary Anderson. I think Mr. Terry may have played for Clary Anderson. Roger, did you? Right, so I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying to you is, do you want piecemeal, or do you want a real arena that can be operated year-round? Because that's the assessment that we were given. If you're going to do this to operate it correctly, it needs to operate year-round and not on a similar basis. The cost we know, roughly $30 million. The location, ideal. It's a town asset. It's something that we can do. We can also, as I said before, enclose the pool to make that year-round opportunity. Our seniors now don't have to pay the high rate to go swimming at the YMCA or other places. That asset has a lot of potential for us, but we cannot rush into it. We need to look into it, and it's gotten stalled due to other things that this council has had to take care of. But I just want to make sure that you all know, because you've come up here multiple times, that that park and that arena needs to be completely torn down and rebuilt in order for it to be a functional ice skating rink. We lose money on it right now because we're paying the electrical bills. And so therefore, but we still do it. Why? Because people want to play there. But now, 10 years from now, do you want the same arena? That's the question you have to ask yourself. You just want us to put a roof on there? The interior of that facility is in bad shape. I'm afraid that it's a health nuisance. You look at that, it was built a long time ago. We don't know what's in those walls. So therefore, to this council, this is a real responsibility that we have to take into consideration, and whether or not we want to do something piecemeal or do it right. And so that's what I have to say about that. And I do implore you, please, Angelise, if you can have these sent to everybody so that they can see the difference in these proposals as well as the qualifications of the two groups.
Thank you. I'll just briefly say, because I know I've met with a number of the individuals who are here tonight, and probably thank you guys, and listened to your concerns. One of the things that stands out to me is I don't think there's uniformity around what is wanted there, right? I know even in conversations I've had, it ranges from improvements to totally redoing to, putting a roof on or not, right? So those conversations are still important. Secondly, as Councilman Cummings, I think you noted, I did walk the arena with you. We sat with a bunch of engineers, and they didn't provide anything to us, right? And they didn't provide anything to us because we didn't go out for a bid and do exactly what we're trying to do right now, right? So one of the things that I think is the start point is to get an assessment done of what is, I've framed it this way, what is the low cost improvements, which everyone will, that I've seen talk about is a few $1 million. What is a nice rink, but simple, but nice rink? And what is a gorgeous, as you're describing, enclosed pool, community center / 3 sheets of ice, all the different things that we want to talk about, right? All of those things are different costs. I want to see what each one of those are. This process has been pretty clear, and I think it's a commitment. I know you guys have been here from the whole time. Budget process last year, I specifically said, let's make sure we've got money in the budget to do this specific study. You did commit to giving 10 grand towards it. I know you guys are working on those pieces as well. I believe you also committed about $20 million. I think you did at one of the meetings, right? But I'll let that go. But in all seriousness, right, committed to getting that in the budget at that time. That was quite a while ago now, right? And made sure that was in there. We specifically spoke about making sure we hear from you guys and everyone else in the community about what specifically is wanted there. That's what this proposal has asked for. And I appreciate it, but when we talk about losing money, any field, any sports that we build as a township, as a school, loses money, right? It is for the kids, it is for the community, it is not a profit maker, right? So these entities do cost the township money all the time, either when you build it up front or maintenance or whatever else. That to me is not an argument, right? The arguments are, how do we make sure we have an asset? How do we make sure we look at which version of that asset we want to see moving forward? And I will let my colleagues who have extensive experience working with the Aubrey Group and others comment on it. I have seen nothing but exceptional work so far to date in anything that they've done. And quite frankly, with the commitment that we've given from budget process a year ago, this is something we said we're moving forward with. This hasn't been some quiet conversation. We've said it every single meeting. You guys have been at all these meetings. So this is the commitment I have. I will be voting to move forward on this because that is, I believe, exactly where we need to go. Get the community feedback input. Talk about which one of these things we want, which version of that, the Cadillac, the Ford or whatever else, right? And see which way we're going on this. And then allow you, as you're talking about forming your nonprofit, to raise dollars to maybe close a gap to move from one version to another, if we can see what that looks like. So I think this is well thought out, and quite frankly, it's gone too long. When we've talked about putting dollars in over time, the dollars always keep getting taken for something else, and I think enough is enough on that front, which is why we've got to put dollars in now, in my opinion. So that's where I stand on this issue, but we'll put that to the vote.
So I kind of want to push back a little bit on that, because I believe, and Council Price Abrams or Slager, you guys can correct me, when we did go through the walkthrough with those groups, it was under the standing that they would submit to us suggestions at no cost. That's what I believe was told. And so,
Did you get it? Did you get a thing?
Did I? No.
Then they
But
don't.
I'm saying, but it was, the way you framed that was the reason why we didn't go out, because we didn't go out to bid. But what it was, as it was explained to me, was that they were willing to come in, walk the location with us, and provide us with an assessment of what could be done there at no cost. And I believe you agree with that, Councilor Slager?
I do.
Then I want to go to the Aubrey Group. As a consulting firm, no issues. As a grant writer, no issues. Core services under the Aubrey Group: comprehensive strategic grants consulting, organizational management consulting, community development and HUD program management, strategic marketing and branding services, compliance, license, and RFPs. Those are their 5 core services. So what we're asking a group that's 5 core services, none of which include building an ice skating rink or assessing that, I just don't see where that makes sense. And if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. And so if you're telling me the most responsive bid to this was what they received, and I'm sorry, here you go, Larry. I don't think that's the case at all. And before we can make a decision, before any of you can make a decision, you need to see the proposals. Who here has seen the proposals on the council? No one, unless Mr. Pohl or someone else has seen it. I have. And how could you vote on something without seeing the difference? That's my question to you all. How can you sit here and say, this is the way to go, when you haven't seen the other one? It may be worth spending $175,000 on this, if this is the way we want to go. But I don't see how you can vote yes to something you don't even know what you're voting for.
So appreciate the framing, Councilman Cummings, extensive conversation with Mr. Lapolla, and I believe he even just spoke to it. One of the proposals, and we did talk about this, goes in and is extensive because it includes things that we've already had done. And the other one speaks to the proposal which was requested. So, but we can agree to disagree. So, thank you.
One of the proposals shows what a company has done already, and what it's capable of. And yes, we've had this, as I said from the beginning, we've been through this before. Our own engineering firm has already given us specs on a new arena. We have that. It's at your disposal. All you have to do is ask Roberto for them. So yes, that work has been done. But here, you can get the other one. I just put it. It's the proof is in the pudding. And again, public should know we're going to vote on something in which no one has seen both proposals. No proposals were given to us, unless you asked for them, which I'd asked for, because I've been down this road before. So there it is.
So, Mayor, if I could say, I agree with Councilman Cummings. I want to see this done. I want to see it done as quickly as possible. I don't want to see us waste money. I haven't seen everything, so I'm not going to vote yes on it, but I don't want the people who want this arena to stay alive to think we're voting against anything for the arena. The question is, the investment of long-term money is better than short-term wasting money. And I think that we should really see a lot more before we vote on it.
Okay. So first we have Resolution R24001, which is a resolution authorizing adoption of the 2024 temporary budget. I so move.
Second.
Is moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Yes. In the budget that we have that was presented to us, Mr. Lapolla, can you give us this, can you break down the Department of Administration item in here at 40,000 and 5,000?
Yes, Counselor, I am asking for the creation of a Department of Administration. We have a variety of responsibilities within the township organization where we have absolutely no point person, whether it's building maintenance or insurance or grants. Everything seems to be spread everywhere. I need assistance in terms of the day-to-day, keeping control of the operations. So this person would also be dealing with all the regulatory agencies, all the filings, all of those things, helping with a comprehensive reorganization of municipal government that I hope to present to the council in the future, because currently our organization is antiquated and not responsive to either you, to me, or to the residents of Montclair. This is pretty commonplace in other governments, and there's a misconception out there that if you went to the manager's office, you would find a large group of people working there. There's me and my administrative assistant. I have a deputy manager. We have no other support staff. The director of IT is in the same suite, and there's now a communications person. But other than that, that's it. That's all of us who run the day-to-day, in addition to with our department heads. So the purpose of this is to try to make this place more efficient.
And so what the public should know is that it's actually not a new position, because this was what's approved or set up in like 2014.
It was an approved title. I have no idea whether or not it was ever, The way it works here is that titles are approved in an ordinance, and this is an approved title. And I went and found the title rather than having to create one. But it's been there. I don't know how long it's been there.
And so then the other part that I have for you, and I say this with all due respect to him, even though he's not here, what is the deputy manager doing, and what part of this, is any of this fall under his purview, or does he have too much on his plate to kind of like take care of any of this?
This is, and I don't think I can talk about personnel matters.
Well,
so-
you're right.
Right, I
Well,
can't,
we'll
so
have
I
that
don't-
discussion
Yeah, we can have
later,
that
but-
discussion another time.
So
yeah.
essentially,
I just want to be sensitive to
right,
it, that's
but if
all.
we do move on this, we're basically adding $180,000 once you add this over the next, because we got, it's what, quarterly, correct? So we're
Well,
asking.
it'll be, there's a salary range for that director of that department, which is comparable to other directors.
Okay. All right, so that's just one question that I had, because it was something new that, I don't know, I wasn't aware of, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
And one other thing in terms of the temporary budget, in terms of the temporary capital budget, we did include in there, because we're trying to act with more deliberate speed, is the replacement of that light where that woman was killed. We want to get that moving in the first quarter. We also allocated some money to start the purchase of speeding equipment, where we can notify people how fast they're going, flashing lights, et cetera. So rather than wait till the budget's adopted, we included that in there now, so we don't lose out on the first quarter.
And then just one more, when it comes to pilot money, I think the residents know where I stand on this from the beginning. And so I believe last year, the Board of Ed was around $4 million. That was the number that was shared with us. And as I said to many of the residents who were inquired, come back to me in July when the Board of Ed got its state aid. And so the Board of Ed received over $8 million in state aid. So if we were to, when you think about giving up pilot money, if we were to give them the money that people requested, and then they got the $8 million, that's $12 million that the Board of Ed would have. So I think we really need to, I'm really speaking to my counselor here, if you're gonna look at the pilot money, we really need to make sure that this is money that's needed. And that's the part that's important. I understand wanting, but I think what the Board of Ed received from the state covered what they needed. And so therefore, for us to take away, well, that's what, listen, I'm not gonna get, what I'm gonna say is, based on the conversations that I've had with the board financial person, that for us to consider giving them pilot money, we nearly need to review what we be giving them to make sure that we're not basically giving money that is not needed. So that's up to you to investigate, and I hope you can have conversations with the Board of Ed to make sure that we can get a good understanding.
Counselor, can I just address that in terms of, and I want to address the public on the issue of the field, is that I reached out to the superintendent on October 4th. When I finally got a response, can I finish? When I finally got a response, I was told a few days later he was a very busy man and he might be able to have time for me by Thanksgiving. I received an evite today for a Zoom call tomorrow, not confirming my availability to finally talk to the superintendent. So hope springs eternal, I guess, but it's been 3 months with no response. So when the public comes up or counselors want collaboration, that's a two-way street, and we've been there. We've offered, I know the Department of Planning has offered for months and months and months, and we don't get answers at all. So I just wanted to state for the record that I believe we have done whatever we can to try to get them to sit down, and they choose not to. So hopefully tomorrow we will turn a new leaf. But in the meantime, I just wanted you to know that this is not us, not returning their phone calls. I mean, we're all very busy people, but to get the response that on October 4th, maybe after Thanksgiving, to me sent a message that there wasn't really interest in sitting down. So I'm optimistic about tomorrow, but we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Madam Clerk?
Questions? Yeah, I have a question. On this new position, because that is only for a quarter, that 40,000 is 4 times that, right?
Yes.
So 160,000 for a new person to be hired, that's almost the second highest salary to the manager, isn't it?
No, not by far, Counselor, and I believe that is because they include ancillary costs for benefits, et cetera. But when we don't have, the range on this is, one thing about our ordinance, which at a certain point in time this year we're going to revisit, is that some of the ranges are so vast that it's almost pointless to have a range for a job when you have a $60,000 or $80,000 range for a high-level job. I think that'd be a little tailored. More than that, this person will not be offered $160,000 by any stretch of the imagination, I can tell you that much.
Well, what is the top range? Because if you say that's including benefits, okay, I understand. You take
I
out the
believe the
benefits.
range goes from anywhere from 112 to maybe 160 or 170 something.
All right, so you're saying the top of the range is 160 or 170. So in other words, we have to budget that much in case?
It's just temporarily, and then we'll have the person hired, hopefully within the next 30 days.
30
So
days.
I will then, based on their experience, set the salary, and the actual salary will be reflected in the budget that you adopt.
Well, let me just ask you this. This is a surprise to me to see another layer. You said you don't have anybody. All right, but you just went through 5 people. I'm not talking about the individuals, I'm talking about the titles. You have a communications person you just hired? None of us, at least I haven't met the person. I don't know how we got that. If that's communications, they ought to communicate, right? So the first thing is that you've got a communications person, you've got your IT director, you've got your deputy manager, there's an confidential executive assistant that Mr. Stafford had. Is that still in the budget there, that person?
Yes, she's
On leave?
she's on maternity leave.
Right, but that is in the budget, that's a spot.
Yes.
All right. And then you have the administrative assistant you just hired. who I
And
think
that was already in the budget. There was a person in that
Right.
spot who retired.
So that would be 5 or 6 people, and that's not an unsubstantial number of people for the manager's office. All the years I've served, I've never seen anything more than 3 or 4. Now, if you add this new position, and you're going to just hire somebody in 30 days, are we going to be stuck with that person if we don't keep you? Or what happens here? It's like we're giving out jobs during a time that it could be a transition. In 4 months and 12 days, okay? In 4 months and 12 days, Mr. Manager, there will be an election in Montclair. I may not even be involved in that election, okay? But there'll be an election, and the election may produce new people up here. Now, you have a contract till July 1st, I believe.
I have a resolution, not a contract.
For you to
Counselor.
have us make a commitment in a temporary budget, not even the full budget that we have a lot of discussion about. This is temporary. It's like it's being stuck in, not saying sneaked, but it's being slipped in, okay? Like I got those new shoes, those slip-ins. They're very good, by the way. Slip-in shoes. You're slipping in another $160,000 for another person to come on the staff to maybe, what is that person going to be, above the deputy manager who's been there for many years, who knows this town well? Is that person going to have to be trained and need 6 months to just get oriented? Or you're going to get that person from Union County or something? You know, I don't know. People are asking me these questions. And you have to understand that you're not seen here as a permanent person. You're here only temporarily 3 days a week. People ask me today if we're going to go to a closed session and hire you permanently. I don't know the answer to that. People come up here asking about this. They ask me, I don't know the answers to this. I respect you because I know you for 40 years. But your friend of mine, Peter Shapiro, and Bill Bradley, who we both helped years ago, 40 years ago, when I ran for county freeholder, they would not like this, that I have to keep confronting this. And I'm not going to vote for this budget if this is in it. I'm not.
Just one more question. So have we posted for this position?
Not yet. And for the record, counselors, under the law, I could have taken a vacant position, converted it, and filled it, and never even put it before the council. I included it in the budget for this very reason, because I think we have to be transparent about these things.
Yeah, well,
So, and as for your other comment, government, with all due respect, government doesn't stop because there's an election coming up. I have filled other vacancies because we have no choice. And that's going to happen between now and Election Day, and now and the day when the new or old counselors are sworn in. We have to provide services, and that doesn't go on hold because we don't know who's going to win an election in May.
Right, but you're going to put somebody in permanently with a high salary because you're here 3 days a week and you can't do the job that a full-time manager would do. So what we need you to do is you need to leave as the temporary consultant, and we need to have the deputy manager promoted to take the spot, and then you can hire another deputy manager in that spot. That's the solution, management-wise. I manage the whole state consumer affairs lemon law department. I manage the Essex County Consumer Affairs Office. You know that. You manage the Turnpike, which I think is pretty well-run road, but you're here temporarily with us, okay? I could swear to you that if you were looking at the interest of Montclair, you wouldn't do this. You're looking at your interest as the manager there, interim manager, that you need this new position. It's another $160,000. That could pay for 4 teachers. Well, maybe 3.
Mr. Lapolla, to that point, which was raised here, I've heard it raised a couple times now. There's no rhyme or reason. It was your limitation on 3 days a week. Is there
Yes.
a ability for you to go to 5 days a week to
Yes,
do more
sir.
of the work?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, why aren't we? How does that fit with this position? Then why aren't we moving to the
Sign
5
the
days a
clause.
week? And would you still need this position if you are going
Yes,
to
I
5 days a
would.
week? Explain.
Yes, I would.
Explain.
Well, I will give my opinion here.
Yeah.
As somebody who ran Union County for 6 years and also ran the Turnpike Authority, which included the Turnpike and the Parkway, there is a, contrary to the issue of cost of salaries for our uniformed personnel, there is a dearth of people providing services in other departments. I'm telling you, there has been no investment in human capital here in a really long time with positions to get things done. So my goal, coming here temporarily, Counselor, is to make this place more efficient and better run than when I got here. And the fact that I'm acting, my predecessor was, or 2 predecessors, were acting for years and years and years. And I am here till July, and but until then, I'm going to do this job as if I was going to spend the next 10 years here, because I don't think government is temporary, and I don't think government takes off for elections or election seasons. So we're going to get the job done, and that's my goal.
What do you say then in terms of, it
5
was,
days.
you were the one who couldn't do more than 3 at the time, right? So are you saying firmly you can do the full 5 at this
Yes, I
point?
can.
Okay. Well, I would say we should start with that. I mean, you're talking about adding these other positions too, but I get it. But when you're, again, you couldn't be here, but now you can. Great, great. I think everyone was great. We want a full-time person working here. We don't want somebody working here just a couple
Sure.
days. It's been noted, right? So,
Yes.
more things get done, right? So, anyway, that's something I believe we should move to then.
That was really sweet. I like that.
Yeah.
So are you saying that by adding these 2 more days, you'll be able to do more work?
I'm doing it now on my own
Right, no, I'm
time, and
saying,
I'm
but
not,
the
trust
2
me,
more days-
this place is nonstop.
So I think it was a direct
including
question.
my weekends, so.
Adding more days,
I will
can
be
you
here
do
5
more?
days a week then, and I will, excuse me?
Yeah, can you do
Yes.
more with 5 days?
Yes.
And do we have to pay you more?
Of course. What do you think?
This isn't, and I appreciate that, this
Yeah.
isn't filling a permanent position. This is still a temporary position. This is going from 3 days, which was his limitation, to 5 days. Okay, interesting. All right, we're at the temporary budget. Any more questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
No.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R24002, which is a resolution to apply for the New Jersey Historic Preservation Fund Certified Local Grant Aid 2024. I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments? Councilwoman Price Abrams?
Thanks, Mayor. So, and I did ask our planner, Ms. Talley, who I see is here, for some clarification, but I wonder if we can just make sure I fully understand. So this is to apply for a grant that would evaluate the historic district box in the map we have in front of us. So it would, this laid out area, and what I was trying to understand was the impact to, if the whole area becomes a historic district, what's the impact on those people who currently own those properties in terms of their full and free use of those properties? I just wonder, does it change anything that they have to do differently by virtue of if they are, at some point, designated as historic?
Well, certainly. If those properties do become designated, which would be an act by a separate act by this council to designate a historic district, then they would be subject to review by the Historic Preservation Commission for any changes to the buildings and structures on those properties. However, what this is for is to do the survey. It's an intense level survey of the properties that are shown on the map. What that does is, once that survey is done and it's accepted by the state, that puts those properties into the category of requiring approval from the Historic Preservation Commission for total demolition. So essentially, once the study is accepted just by the state and it's been structured so that it would meet the state's requirements for a historic survey, it would ensure that that you don't have any knockdowns of any potentially historic resources within that area unless it was approved by the Historic Preservation Commission. So that's the immediate impact. Right. It does provide the necessary background if and when the township ever decides to make that a historic district, which would have further limitations. And if it's a historic district, it would have the property owners would have to be notified.
But, so also, again, it's a whole district, so does that mean every house in that would be evaluated to see if it's historic, or is the whole district deemed historic?
Every house is evaluated.
So some would, this one is, that one's not, next door?
Every property is
Okay.
evaluated and documented, so we know what is or is not historic associated with those houses.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions? I believe this is to authorize, so Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R-24004, which is a resolution authorizing execution of a fair and open professional services agreement with the Aubrey Group to prepare a feasibility study for Essex Park. I so move. Second. It's been moved and seconded. Questions,
Hold on.
concerns, comments?
This 003.
Whoops. Oops.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, I'll do this one first. The kids are still here, so yeah, let's do that.
Oh,
So,
are we on 04?
4. Yeah, we'll stick that one. So, resolution, I'll go back to 3. This is Resolution R-24004, resolution authorizing execution of a fair, open professional service agreement with the Aubrey Group to prepare feasibility assessment for Essex Park, and I so move. Second. It's been moved and seconded.
I'd like for us to table this until everyone can see these proposals and make an educated decision on this.
Well, again, I've said my piece. I've spoken with the manager. He's given the explanation. I've specifically commented on these proposals, and I'll go back to this. You noted it, right? We have certain information from previous work that we've done. The goal here is to move forward, to take that information we already have, to infuse it with the comments from the public, to determine which style of rink we want, 3 different options, see how much each of those options would cost us, and then move forward. The feasibility study, specifically in terms of the one that replied to the bid that's a lot more money, as the manager noted, talks about some of the structural pieces, which we have, as you note yourself, right? That's not what we're trying to get at here. We've said this from budget season all the way to now, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the comments all along the way of, we don't need another rink, we put it to football fields, go skate somewhere else. I've heard it all, but look, we need to do something for this rink. And I appreciate the other ideas that are out there, but I don't know how much they ring true to trying to get the work done when there's been a lot of movement to try and move us in every direction except moving forward with doing something on this rink. Dollars taken out last year. Money this year, when we talk about it, roadblocks every step of the way to try and get dollars to this rink. It's a commitment we made. They said they would raise some money to do this work. I honor that commitment, said we'd put it in, and I think this does exactly that. So it's moved and seconded, but I hope my colleagues would support it as well.
And I said I just want to make a motion to table this, and I'm looking for someone to second
Yes,
that.
I'd second at least tabling for a while so we can look at
It's not a
more.
while.
Well,
All you got to do, these can be delivered to the council within 24 hours. Mine was given to me in an hour.
Not to be moved and seconded. All those in favor of,
can we discuss what we're doing?
All those in favor of what?
this is tabling, it's not debatable.
Not
So,
debatable.
all in favor of tabling, right? Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock? No. Counselor Price Abrams?
No.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager?
No.
Counselor Terry?
No.
Mayor Spiller?
No. So we're back to the main motion. Any questions, concerns, or comments? Councilwoman Price Abrams.
Thanks. So I do want to also tease out what I think the distinction is between the two requests. And again, I did not read them both, so is based on what I'm understanding about them. Often, we get two different or multiple bidders on something, and the lowest responsive bid. In this case, though, what we're discussing, in part because of Councilor Cummings' own review, is that the one by the engineering firm goes into a great amount of detail as if we understood what we wanted. And I think the point of this proposal is to help evaluate what we do want. I know the mayor's commented on his, Volkswagen up to the Cadillac kind of versions. He didn't say it this time,
Fair
but.
enough.
So I think what this is to do, as the bottom of the memo says, the current project includes a site evaluation, document review, coordinating of a community engagement program, and preparing the feasibility studies with recommendations. So that is the part where some of the people are coming to speak with us, but the people we have to go out and talk to and figure out what is the community of an appetite to fund. If we could have the biggest, best thing, great. But what do we want to weigh off in terms of costs and in terms of the benefit, and taking the facility we have and whether it's a tear down, to Councilor Cummings' point, or it's not. And so I do believe that is within the scope of, I think, expertise of the Aubrey Group based on the work I've done with them. Certainly the community engagement piece we had talked about with them. And so I'm understanding that the engineering firm, I presume, includes that and more, and we don't need the and more, as the mayor has described. So I'm on board with supporting this to move forward. I do have a question, though, because I noted that when it was certified by our CFO, it says pending adoption of the 2024 budget. So I wanted to understand, is that the temporary budget that we just passed?
That applies to everything, although I do believe, my understanding was that that we put the money in for this study in the temporary budget, which is under my,
Wasn't the money in last year's budget?
yeah.
We have the
As-
money.
as
We have the money
specifically-
right now, actually.
Hold on one second.
Well, the
Yeah,
15.
the reason why, if you look at the temporary budget that was adopted, where it has Township Manager OE and the number is $212,000, it's because I specifically put the money in for this study. However, all of the resolutions say, subject to the adoption of the permanent budget. Okay? But I did specifically make sure that the money was there to start this, and we didn't have to wait until the adoption of the 2024 budget, if that makes.
But we do have the $50,000, don't we?
Yeah, we had talked about putting this in now for.
Last year's budget, there was never any, just like Vision Zero, the full funding for these projects was not specific in the budget. I can assure you that in the 2024 budget, when it comes to things like Vision Zero and other studies, that they will be specifically mentioned in the budget document, so we don't go, searching for change every time we want to do something that we can't predict a year before.
I think the counselor's point is, we approved $50,000, so we should have 50 towards this 63 already.
There was never specifically $50,000 set aside for this study.
Right, but that's what we approved.
Well, you approved the budget but there was no specific line item last year
Well,
for
I think-
this
I think
study.
what you're hearing from us is-
Even though you thought there was.
There was a resolution put before us to set aside $50,000 for RFP for what is essentially what we're getting.
And you're saying it never happened?
Never happened.
Okay.
We never voted on that?
We
No,
did.
it wasn't executed
It
properly.
wasn't done. Like, we voted on that. So
Okay, then
I'd say to you, Mr. Lapolla,
Right.
to make sure that,
So it went from 50 to 63, so we're going up to 63,000 for something we
That was
said
an
we would do
estimate.
50
There's
on.
an estimate, Counselor. The 50
It's
is
just an estimate. Okay,
That's, I have
listen.
no other way to,
All right.
well, Mr. Lapolla, my bigger piece there is if you can make sure that, when public comes, we debate these issues, that's the challenge, right? Everybody here has a very valid and important ask of funding one, balanced against tax assessments and wanting to, we all pay taxes here too, want to be, good stewards. We try to find that balance. We have tough debates up here. We don't always agree, but we figure it out. When we do come down with something, we got to expect that when we vote on it, as was noted, and we pass a resolution and we include that it is then in the budget the way we just voted on it, right? We can't operate from somehow then, it's not put in the budget, right? So I just ask you to then closely monitor as we talk about these things to make sure that they are actually followed
and
through.
there
with
also,
properly.
my recommendation to you would also be to put a line item or two in the budget so that if an issue arises in July, it's not where are we going to find the money
No,
to address, et cetera.
that's good budgeting and smart.
Yes,
I just
and-
also want to go back to when we
Yes.
actually do something. It's
Not
got
to worry,
actually
that's
happen,
why
right.
that's why I put in the temporary budget too, so we didn't have to
Okay.
wait until the adoption.
Thank
Got
you
it.
for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a
Council-
question.
please,
Yes,
Councilman Terry.
Councilor Abrams, you said you've worked with this group before, the Aubrey Group?
So these are the folks who, the Education Committee is the mayor and Councilor Schlager and myself, and we have been working with them for grant writing. And so they have actually secured a good amount of grant funding for various kinds of initiatives, working sometimes with our staff and sometimes on their own. And so we have found them to be an effective group in that regard. And we had talked through the walkthrough that the councilor was speaking about before, was a walkthrough with them, talking about what that process might look like.
Okay, could you talk a little bit about the walkthrough then?
I will talk about that. I've worked with the Aubrey Group now for the past 3.5 years on our education committee. They're very professional, they're very knowledgeable, they work all throughout the state of New Jersey on various grants and programs, and they've worked with hospitals, they've worked with many nonprofits, school districts, universities. They're very professional and they're great. I mean, we meet with them once a month for 3.5 years. But I would also like to say, yes, I went through 3 walkthroughs of Clary Anderson Arena with 3 different engineering firms. Not one of them, after I left those walkthroughs, nobody wrote anything down, nobody took a picture, and I said to myself, what was the reasoning behind this? I didn't really know, and we never heard from anybody. Nobody ever got back to us. I don't know where $30 million came from, but I'm sure it's got to be in that ballpark, perhaps.
No, we have
to-
it, and it's in the Department of Community Services. Neglia
just
did it, provided, we have
$30 million?
scope, specs, and everything.
I haven't
It's
seen
there.
that.
Again, it's, all you do
Okay.
is ask.
But the fact
that's
remains,
just
in my
going
view, we don't have $30 million. There's lots of people and lots of advocates that we hear from week after week after month after year. There are people that would love to have a senior center, which I think is which is long overdue. We need a new municipal building. I was on the planning board, and we had a presentation by Ms. Talley and her department of all the issues in this building. Some of them you could even see in these drop-down ceilings, and the facade on the side of this building is in bad shape. We need a new police department building. We had Chief Conforti in here telling us of the leaks and the potential mold. They have rats. We need a new building there. We need to upgrade all our pools. Summer after summer, we hear from residents who would like to see upgrades in our pools, and I absolutely agree with that as well. We don't have $10, $20, $30 million for a new arena. I love the arena. It's a treasure of this town. It has history. And if we could find the Aubrey Group, who I know and who I've worked with and trust, if we could spend this minimal amount of money, in my view, to get a proposal, to get a feasibility study, to maybe for $4 or $5 million that we could get grants for, fundraising, to upgrade what we have, a new refrigeration system, a new Zamboni, a new roof. I'm all for that. Because as far as I could see, whether I'm on the council or not, in 6 months, I don't see a $30 million check that we could write. And when there's other issues that are just as important as an ice skating rink, if not more important in some people's views.
I agree with you 100%, but I think we have to be realistic and understand that that building is more than just fixing it up. And that's not me, that's our Department of Community Services former director saying it, not me. The interior of that facility is really old and bad. Pipes, it goes back to when the schools were bad, right? They couldn't find equipment that matched up to the vents inside the school because they were so old. So they couldn't even find equipment to fix that. And so we're looking at a similar thing here where when we go in the feasibility study, I skated in that ring in 1972, okay, when it was open air. And the only thing they did was fill it up. Now, I will say that they had the best French fries in town. All right, I will say that. I can remember that very well. And so
Hot chocolate was good,
I'm
too.
talking 5, 6 years old as a child. And so, but the point is, and to your point about what we need, and Lori, I believe you and Peter Jacobellis and I were trying to get a facilities group going. And the first thing we said was we need a new municipal complex. That should be the priority for us. And then we could look at what is next. But what I'm saying to this group and to the public here today is, yes, what do you all want? You want an ice skating rink, but you want an ice skating rink that's going to be viable for what, 5 years or 30 years? Do you want something that you're going to come back and say, hey, this is broken? Every year we're maintaining and going into that rink and fixing it up again and again. So, whatever this feasibility study comes back with, we could support it and see what it is. But my thing again is we have these done already. It's been done already. And it just really seems to me that we're wasting $60,000 on something that when it comes back to us, we're going to end up piecemealing again. And so, but the main thing that I want to say is, again, you're voting on something that you didn't see. And with these two assessments, look at what did we ask for in the proposal. That's all I'm saying. The township issued a request for proposals to retain a consultant to evaluate design options for Essex Park, to evaluate design options. That's what we said in our proposal. They don't do design options. They do great work in terms of going out after grants, but they don't do that. And so look at, again, that's why I say look at the proposal, because it tells you what their core services are and what they do. So now they're going to go out, probably have to hire an architect. They said on the proposal they have an architect that can do this. And then the architect's going to have to come up with some things potentially. And if that does, is that going to increase the cost? Or is that going to be absorbed by the Aubrey Group? Because they don't have these things on there. Now, what we've received from CME, they have these firms in there. It's all in-house. But this is, seems to be something that's just a done deal, and we'll see what happens.
Yep, I mean, so let's put it to a vote. I go back to, I'll just end with, we can't at one hand say we think it's 30 million and we don't have 30 million and we're not going to do that. But by the way, we don't want to do piecemeal. We don't want to do something smaller. So go with the 30 million, which we're not going to do. I mean, that's my six. So for
No,
me,
that's not what I said,
I don't
Sean.
think it's going to cost 30
not what
million.
I said at
Looking
all.
at three options, I don't think all three options are going to be 30
Yeah,
million.
but that's
And
not what I
think there's gonna
said,
be- Okay,
and
well, I think there's going to be different
because
options that are less than
if-
30 million. And we'll
Yes,
see
there
what they
will
are.
be options less than 30 million.
Okay.
There will be, and what those options are. But if you remember, that 30 million, I'm glad you struck that. That 30 million, Robin, also included adding a second floor and making this truly a community center. Because that was the other conversation we had about it was, as you said, our PTAs have no place in town where they can go and have an affair at no cost. And that's what we were looking at. That's what's included within this 30 million. And there are three different tracks with that. One is just adding the second floor because we can go up, expanding outside because we have a lot of property over there, parts of New Jersey Transit. I mean, we've done this already. So, but what I want to make it clear is it's not spending $30 million or $6 million. It's doing this right from the beginning, which is, I would assume, every counselor up here reading two proposals that they're going to vote on. That's the number one step. No disrespect to you guys. because I hear what you're saying, but then, and also the other problem, I don't think we should be looking to private organizations, nonprofits, raising money for something that is a municipal asset. That's another issue. This is our asset, and we should be the ones who are championing this and going forward with this. That's what I think, so I said my
I
piece.
appreciate that. I think that Councilman Schlager has direct experience doing private fundraising for parks and other things that I think worked really, really well. But anyway, let's put it to a vote. Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
No.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Terry?
I must say that Councilor Cummings makes some very good points, but I don't see any issue with doing the study, at least for now, so I'm going to say yes.
Thank you. Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R23003. Missed this resolution awarding the non-fair and open contract to Power DMS for maintenance of the Township Police Department training, accreditation, and scheduling platform. I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none. Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R24005, which is authorizing the submission of application, Hazardous Discharge Site Remediation Fund, 75%, Recreation and Conservation Grant for remediation of Discharge, 399 Orange Road. I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Yes, Janice, can you please tell me if this is going to get done? Because I have a certain former Fourth Ward counselor who has been on my case about this for some time, and it seems that it's been quite a while that when this should have been done, it wasn't done. So is it going to get done?
Well, I hope, all this does is it authorizes the township to apply for grant funding. We finally got the cost estimate to remediate that property. It's close to $1.3 million. So the next step, as you know, we went back and forth with the site investigation. Every time we got new information, we had to go back and remap it. And before we could do that, this was all entirely grant funded. So the next step will be, if you pass this resolution, we'll apply for the grant funds. It's very slow getting those grant funds in. It may be close to a year before I get all the paperwork back from DEP and EDA, because you need approval from both of them to move forward with the grant. But if we do, and we have our contributions lined up, we'll be able to move forward, and this is the last step, remediating it, and part of the remediation will be creating that park.
And we met with the group, so the group that we met with last year, I think it was last year, where this was the step that they said they were to get to before we start going in and changing the location.
That was, I believe, the licensed site remediation professional, the
Right.
LSRP. Yeah, we met with them. We had to bring in, they brought in different contractors to come up with the cost estimates, because as you know, cost estimates can vary widely, and this one did too. So that's how we ended up with 1.3. But we met with them. They brought in a variety of different contractors, and I think they feel confident that the cost estimate that they developed, which was the $1.3 million, is what the remediation cost will be.
And this is land that the township owns,
Yes.
and therefore, the houses near there, we want to make sure that there's nothing in that soil in their area that is detrimental to them. So this
Yeah,
is very,
we bought the property. It's our responsibility to remediate it.
thank you.
So, okay.
Councilwoman Price Abrams?
Thanks. Yeah, so I also had flagged that, the 75% of this total estimated remediation cost, comes to over 308,000 or 380, which was it? 308,000. So it's also significant dollars. You did point out to me that it's our obligation to remediate it. If we can get the 75%, we might be able to find other,
Right.
Green Acres maybe, or other dollars that would be a part of that match.
Absolutely. I've been in conversation with the CFO and with Manager Lapolla to find out exactly how we're going to fund that.
Right.
We can look for other grant funding to if it's possible, to help supplement our match. I do know that we had some money set aside in an open space trust fund provided by various developers, so we'll see if we can tap into that as well.
So we still have a fund of that sort?
Excuse
The
me?
Open Space Trust Fund, we still have, we're seeing what's in
I've
it.
asked the CFO, she hasn't responded to that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? This is authorizing submission of an application, so I think it should be a voice vote, correct? Mr. Gipper? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. Resolution R 23006, which is a resolution authorizing acceptance of an $11,000 grant from Partners for Health. I so move.
Second.
Any questions, concerns, comments?
Just, sorry, brief.
Mr. Deputy Mayor,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just that we're friendly amendment,
please.
that we're going to actually accept the expansion of senior programming instead of the expansion of senior programming. Other than that, I'm okay. Thank
I
you.
second that change, I second that.
Thank you, Bob.
Error. It's a typo, really.
It's just a typo.
There.
Yeah, we haven't done well with
As
typos.
corrected.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's corrected. Again, this is the acceptance of a grant, so I believe we could do a voice vote on this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we have approved that. Thank you very much. Next is Resolution R 23007, which is a resolution.
Sorry. I wanted to say something here, briefly.
Oh, please, yeah, Councilwoman Price Abrams.
I just wanted to also just acknowledge what this dollars go to. It's not a lot of money at this point, but it is, supporting the health department, the work we do on behalf of seniors. And so, that's something that I know many of us up here have made a strong priority, and that's just some of the dollars that will go into that. I just wanted to flag that. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Next is Resolution R 23007, resolution authorizing execution of shared services agreement. County of Essex for the transportation, again, services for our senior services. And again, I'll just note this has been, great success, a great success. So I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, this is execution of agreement. So Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Resolution R 24008, which is a resolution authorizing the township to accept qualified responses to the request for qualifications for professional services for conflict and general litigation counsel. I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Yes, this is outside counsel that is being recommended by our town attorney. Is that what this is?
Yeah.
And they're for, what it says, conflict and general litigation. What's conflict cover?
That the township attorney's office cannot.
Is your microphone on?
In the event the township attorney's office has a conflict and cannot represent the township, that we have conflict counsel available to represent them.
Now, I see four names
Your
here.
microphone's not on, Amy.
Sorry, I got it now, thank you.
There's four names, there's four companies here, there's four firms, I'm sorry. Right, so any four of these can do something like this and fill in?
Correct.
Is that what this is?
Correct, Counsel.
Do we need all four of these? Why is there four?
We don't need all four, but they're all being qualified in the event we have a particular matter that we want to reach out to one of those particular vendors that might be within their specialty, something that they handle in an expedited and a cheaper manner. So we're qualifying different vendors.
So 5 proposals were received.
Mm-hmm.
We've eliminated somebody, right?
Yes.
I'm glad to see some, there's a couple of firms that are more local, Montclair, Livingston.
I will also say, Counselor, that some of the council members have requested that we look at firms that are diverse and will fulfill our DIP program, and a couple of these vendors do that.
Now, one is
That's not
Montclair.
a first for the law department since I've been here.
So the one from Montclair, Elvin Esteves, I know that.
Yes.
Now, Riker Danzig, we've been using them for quite a few issues, haven't we? We've had 2 years of them so far.
Correct.
So you want to keep them again, right?
well, they're handling matters for us.
Yeah,
and
right now.
Through consistency that carry over from one year to the next year. And it's beneficial for the town to continue using them and not transfer those cases, because it will cost more for our firm to get up to speed
Yeah,
to where Riker already knows what's going on.
I understand all that. You know, my general problem with all this is all the outside costs. And that's now in this temporary budget, and any full budget, there's going to be a large amount of money spent on these outside firms in your unit. So my question is with the overall outside attorney issue, and looking at I, which we're not on, but it has a couple of attorneys to do our labor work. What happened? We don't have Genova anymore. Well, we'll go on to that one and the next one, but, you know, I see a change somewhere, but then I see it not a change where I'd like to see it. So we'll take one at a time. But on H, I'm going to vote no, because I don't like the whole philosophy of going out for all these expensive firms.
All right, Madam Clerk, Councilwoman Price Abrams.
So just for my clarity, Mr. Attorney, these are not, there's no money here to hire them. These are people that you are deeming qualified, that in the event there's a conflict that your department can't handle something, we have firms that we can select from who, some of them may be conflicted, so we can use a different one. So we have a selection of firms.
That would be one of the reasons, yes.
That's one of the reasons why we are qualifying these.
Yes.
Okay, so it
And
seems
we're-
like it's just due
these
diligence
other-
to have
Right.
people in the stable, should we need them.
Yep, and the other reason would be for their expertise that the law department doesn't.
From time to time,
Right,
may
from
need.
time to time, doesn't.
And often the law firms themselves on this list could have a conflict. They
Right.
may
Yeah, I think those
represent
are
other
first.
parties, so it's
Right.
not only the conflict for the department, but within there, you can have several who have a conflict. So we need to have a list.
Gotcha. Okay. Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R24009, resolution authorizing the township to accept qualified responses to the request for qualifications for professional services for labor and employment, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments?
Okay, Mayor, my question again was, what happened to Genova Burns that we used for years, and is this costing us any more? You're putting two firms in place of that one firm. For the town attorney and the manager, please explain.
My understanding is the Genova firm decided not to pursue work with the township, and that was last year. They weren't on the list, and this is for the same reason, is that if outside counsel has a conflict, we need to have two firms, and there's also areas of expertise which we may need one and not the other.
All right, so this is employment law, right? Negotiating
And
contract.
labor negotiations.
Yeah. So we've got a firm from Cedar Knolls and a firm from Oakland. There's no local here that we could use, just like on the other list, were at least a Montclair firm. I mean, I know Stuart Ball from Montclair does enormous amounts of labor work. I'm just throwing a name out. He's a local guy. I mean, why can't we have some local
Mr. Ball
people?
didn't submit a proposal to the RFP.
He did not?
He did not, no.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm just questioning who these people are. I don't know who they are. Very comfortable for years with Genova Burns. I don't know who these people are.
I believe the HR manager, the HR director, under her watch, the Cleary firm came on. Isn't that correct?
Correct. We brought Cleary on
I know.
last year.
I think she had a prior work relationship with them.
She has a
Some of
prior
them.
work relationship with Cleary.
So that's where that firm came
Right.
from.
And they submitted, when we put out an RFP last year in 2022, they submitted a proposal that worked hand in hand with her coming on board. She knew them, and it was one of the firms that we decided to work with. And we qualified a few other firms, too, on that list last year as well.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Since we have to have labor attorneys, I'll vote yes.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R2410, resolution authorizing the township to accept and qualify responses to the request for qualifications for professional services for vacant and abandoned properties, and I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
This is for that Santarcangelo firm, right? That's been
Yes.
working with us? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Yes,
And
yes.
he's a local attorney, too.
Very good, yes.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R2411, resolution authorizing to pre-qualify and award fair and open professional services, again, to this Suplee, Clooney Company for municipal audit services, and I so move.
Second.
Any questions, concerns, comments?
Yes, I have a question. We're moving from a West Orange firm to a Westfield firm? Who made that decision?
We're
That was
making
the
decision.
recommendation
It's the
made.
recommendation.
Recommendation from who?
From the committee that reviewed the,
Committee that reviewed, who's that? Council members? Council
no,
committee?
the process is internal, Counselor.
Internal, okay. I just
That'll be
want
the
you to...
recommendation of the,
What's
town
wrong with
attorney
the
and
auditor we had?
myself.
What's wrong with the auditor we had? Local, West
we
Orange.
believe that it was necessary for, we needed, it was time for a change.
Time for a change. You came on and now you want to change our auditor, right?
Yes.
To somebody who's in the town you live in?
I don't live there,
Oh, I'm sorry.
so, okay? So-
Well, you don't live far from there, do you?
Well, I'm,
Do you
I
know
don't-
this
yeah.
person? Is this somebody that you know, like?
I have
you're
worked with
bringing in
them.
an auditor?
I worked with them many years ago.
$88,000 to somebody just like that, Mr., what's his name, Bernstein, that's the lawyer for Stafford that we're using for $80,000? He shouldn't be he shouldn't be hired by us. Now you want us to hire this firm? And you're dumping this local West Orange firm that's worked for many years with us, I believe. And I don't know, I don't understand who this is. Suplee, Clooney and Company from Westfield? Okay, I'll vote no on it. I'm just bringing it to the attention of the public again.
Any other questions,
Sounds like
concerns,
political
comments?
patronage to me.
Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
No.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Mr. Lapolla, you want to go over the discussion items on there
Time for a change.
and certainly
Mayor,
whether,
I-
and finishing up just on the, auditors, right? It is standard and good practice to constantly switch auditors every period of time so that you have a different set of eyes on it. That's absolutely appropriate.
and I had handed out, I don't know if all the counselors got it, another resolution in terms of the award of a fair and open for the financial advisors.
Yeah, you.
I don't know if Counselor Russo was here when I handed that out.
It's,
I
yeah.
got something here.
Yeah.
This is to replace Beneke?
Sorry, yeah, so this is a resolution
Yes, yours.
authorizing the township to pre-qualify for service contracts to Acacia Financial Group and NW Financial Group, and I so move. Okay, it's moved and seconded. Mr. Lapolla, you want to speak to that briefly? Same, this is what we've been doing for all of them, but you want to speak to it?
Yes. These are, we received the responses, we rated two of them acceptable, and they, depending on their expertise, will be assigned, on a project-by-project basis. Some of it will involve some of the budgetary advice, but we thought it was prudent that we award to two certified.
Same concept as before. having
All
multiple.
bidders were required to be, have all certifications
Gotcha.
with the SEC.
Yeah, can you just explain again why we're doing this? Because we had this big incident with Mr. Beneke, didn't we? I mean, so the public knows why we're changing, why we even need a financial advisor. We have our finance officer and the whole staff. What do we need this financial advisor for at all?
Well,
But I'm glad to see one's from Bloomfield, our neighboring town.
I would ask that same question. We have a CFO and a department. I don't understand why we need this. I never understood why we needed Mr. Beneke either.
Well,
But nobody, so,
I believe every governmental entity in New Jersey would have a financial advisor. You use them in terms of when you're going to go out to bid, to do a financial analysis, to assist us in negotiations for on Lackawanna, for example. All of those functions, there's a variety of functions.
Bond
But
issuances.
Bond issuances is the first one. They're all certified to do bond issuances, so we avoid that problem in the past. And whether it's, Newark and Jersey City are the smallest community in New Jersey. Everyone has an official financial
And the
advisor
consultant,
to
and the
do that.
CFO, relies on this consultant to help her with making decisions and choices and presenting financial analyses to the manager. So I think it's important that the township has a financial.
Don't we have Mr. Scotland's firm to do our bonds?
Mr. Scotland is no longer representing the township as our bond counsel, but what they do is prepare the bond ordinances for the bonds that are going to be adopted by the township. They don't do the financial analysis of it.
I see.
But we still have McManaman in Scotland.
No,
No,
we
they
do
resigned.
not. They resigned.
They resigned?
They
Yes.
resigned.
Yes. They
Genova
resigned.
resigned. Everybody's resigned. Okay, let me ask you this question. There's no money listed on the second sheet for the NW Financial Group in Bloomfield. Is there just an omission there or what? The other one says
Each was
25,000.
25,000, that was an omission.
Is it just an omission or
Yeah.
something? Is it still also?
That was
25
$25,000 each,
Each, I would assume that, okay.
right.
Why couldn't we just have that one firm, since we had one guy before and one firm before? Why couldn't we just have NW Financial from Bloomfield? Because going all the way to Mount Laurel, great town, but do we really have to go to Mount Laurel for a financial advisor?
These two firms, I would say, represent probably 50 to 60% or maybe more of the municipalities and county governments in New Jersey.
Really?
These are two of the premier firms.
Well, I guess there's a question, do we need the two? What we're talking about
Yes.
for all the other positions makes sense. 'cause
Yes,
it's
and
confident. So
and
do
we
you
have the
still think
same
we need
issue
two
with
for that?
conflicts.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, and on that other issue, look, go ahead, I'm sorry. I won't go to the bond counsel issue.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
So we're switching to we have two financial
Yes,
groups that will be assisting CFO and yourself and everything moving forward.
yes.
And you feel as though we need two, because if there are certain conflicts, one will be able to handle it, the other
Yes.
isn't.
And some other with expertise
And compared to
issues.
costs before,
It's comparable.
it's comparable we were
Mr.
paying?
Benecke's contract last year was $49,000 initially, and this is and then they get paid on bond issues, et cetera. That's different. There's a schedule for that, depending on if we borrow money or not.
Right.
But for the basic service, this was just a split in that fee.
And so this isn't a retainer, this is an actual fee.
Yes,
It's a not to exceed on the
yeah,
contract.
not to exceed, yeah.
And it gets spent down based
It
on
gets
usage,
spent down, right, absolutely.
So it wouldn't be necessarily, and my understanding to that question, where both are working on the same thing at the same time, unless we felt we
Correct.
needed double, we
Correct.
would use one and then maybe use the other one for something else.
For something else,
Right, okay.
absolutely.
And who'll make those
And-
decisions? The finance director? How she uses them?
Township manager.
Manager decides how we use them?
Okay, Madam Clerk?
One other thing I would like to point out is, again, one of the two is a certified women-owned business. So, that,
Acacia.
again, we go to, trying to meet our 20% on our diversity inclusion program that we have in our ordinance.
Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
No.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager?
No.
Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Mr. Lapolla, you want to briefly go over, again, I think
Sure.
we know a lot of these, but just go over briefly these items?
Sure. Resolution number one is a resolution authorizing the amendment to a fair and open contract for New Jersey licensed electrical services provider due to a change in the state of New Jersey prevailing wage rate. There was an increase, so we're amending the contract to reflect same. Number two is a resolution authorizing the renewal of the fair and open contract for Township HVAC maintenance and repair service providers. This was done by bid, and we were now exercising our option to renew for another year. Number three is a resolution authorizing the renewal of the fair and open contract for Township New Jersey licensed plumbing services for another year. Number four is a resolution authorizing the purchase of, for the repair of a piece of fire apparatus in the amount of $8,376.97. Number 5 is a resolution authorizing the emergency purchase pursuant to statute to repair a stormwater catch basin in Van Vleck Street, or Van Vleck Street, I apologize if Van Vleck, in the amount of $8,269.
Mr. Mayor, a real quick question, if I could, please. Mr. Lapolla, what is the procedure for that, to identify broken catch basins and stuff? Who should we go to? Because I see them all over the place, to be honest with you.
Well, I would contact the town engineer, Roberto.
Okay,
That's the quickest way to getting a direct response.
okay, and you authorized me to do that under the Faulkner Act, so I don't get
For you,
dinged
Counselor,
legally?
this one time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just copy me,
All right, done.
all right?
Thank you.
Okay. Number 6 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for year 2024 by the purchasing agent pursuant to the Election Transparency Act.
Sorry, before you,
Sure.
so this is to retain our current QPA, Al Dineros,
No.
right?
No, it's an authority to award a contract.
So as we're in 2024, is this something we should take action on tonight and pull it out? Or it's fine to wait till the end of
No,
the
it's
month?
fine the way it is. It's for this year, right?
Okay.
Unless you want to pull, that's fine.
Well, only if there's
We'll add
any
it to-
impediment to,
Is there any, there's no,
indicate that
No.
was a rush.
There's no rush.
then leave it.
yep. And again, unless we're in objection, all these will be consent for next agenda.
Yeah.
We're okay with these. So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, number 7 is a resolution resolution in support of the Green Acres application for Nishwain Park completely inclusive playground project. So we're seeking a grant of $750,000.
I have a question
Sure.
on that. So that application was generated and started by Norberto, I believe, because his memo's
Yes.
from Norberto,
Yes.
right? Which I read the other night and just now. And so on something like that, who initiates that? Is it Ms. Talley's office?
I
Or,
think it all depends on, we get notifications on grants either from our grant consultant or just different departments or myself getting these notifications on a regular basis. You always are looking for the Green Acres and those big
Right.
things that you get on a regular basis. But this has been a goal of ours to make these improvements at Nishwain, so we're hoping.
which is great.
Right.
But we also have an all-inclusive playground at Edgemont Park, which 80% of that money was donated money from residents. We did a huge fundraising campaign about 11 years ago, and the playground needs to be updated. There's lots of broken equipment, their surface is broken and in bad shape, which is a dangerous situation. I had many conversations with former employee Steve Wood through the manager. And that was on the list for upgrades for that inclusive playground. So I'm just curious how this superseded that.
Hey, Robin, I wouldn't say this superseded it.
Yeah.
Before COVID, when we first got on, this conversation about Nishwain because the pool at Nishwain hadn't been done, and the park, the playground itself, had not been done for a long time, and it needed to be upgraded. And so, but there was also push, well, if you're going to upgrade it, it's having inclusive playground was very important because it had nothing there as inclusive. So I wouldn't say it's superseded. I would say the change was needed there because they didn't have anything that was inclusive. And in fact, Canterbury was going to follow that because Canterbury was in the same situation. And so I think it's, as we've done with parks, we've upgraded parks over time, and Nishwain and Canterbury hadn't been upgraded before any other park that was upgraded in the past. Same thing with the pools. So right now, the pools at Nishwain is being done, and This just happened to be something based on delay of the pools not getting done before, where it seems like it's coincide. But it wasn't as if it jumped over anything. And that was in conversations with Steve and Roberto.
Right.
Actually, when I first got on the council to talk about Nishawan, we did the basketball courts first, and the walkways. Everything in Nishawan hadn't been done. It was the last park to get done.
Okay.
And so this is just a continuation of it based on timing.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. I
Right.
didn't know any of that. But I would also like to, in our budget, when we go through it line by line, which I assume we're going to have those
Yes.
budget presentations
Yes.
between this temporary budget and the actual budget, I would like to see money in it for Edgemont Park to upgrade. It's upgrade and fixing what we have there.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I,
you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I know you and I have worked on this since we've been up here.
Yep.
Seems like 100 years ago now, but it was only 11. But we met actually with some of the reps from the all-inclusive playgrounds to get something done. You know, I understand there were upgrades at those parks. I think it needs to be something, though, across the board. There's been so many advancements when it comes to these types of playgrounds and the need for them and how effective and important that they are. Excuse me, I would ask Mr. Lapolla that we look at this townwide at all of the parks, because I know you and I have met with several representatives over the years over this, and whether or not there was money and, you know, back and forth or whatever, I think this is a townwide issue, and I would respectfully request that we do an assessment across the board. Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Yeah, I think that's
a good idea.
important, but I want to reiterate, when we started redoing parks, we did them, and Nishawan was the last to get done, and so therefore, that's why it's first in here, because it was actually last.
Right.
And it didn't get anything done regards to other parks. So as you want to look town-wide, that's exclusive of this, but yes, do agree, we do need to look at all the parks to see which parks have not, which parks need this.
Sure.
Yes, and.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you. And I believe last year, the park next to the Clary Anderson Arena was redone, right? That's Essex
Right, yeah.
Park? Essex Park, yep, okay. Thank you.
When all the trees were removed.
Yes.
I'm concerned maybe we didn't have such a good, maybe it was a subpar job done at Edgemont, I don't know.
No, that was
No.
not the
It's
case
been
at all.
used
It's
out
just,
now. It's
it's
been used.
almost 12 years old, and it's
Right.
used not only by residents, but used by the Edgemont School. And, they have, it's wear and tear.
But didn't they give us some sort of a warranty?
It's 12 years old.
Well,
It's time.
Yeah, it's true.
Right, but I mean,
I don't
it's,
It
know
was
if that-
also-
What does it say in the contract?
Okay,
with
it was
that?
also, there was vandalism there a few years ago where somebody set fire to the rubber
Yeah.
surface in the playground.
All right,
So-
it's old.
Thank you.
Mr. Lapolla?
Okay, number 8. A resolution authorizing the execution of fair and open professional service agreement with Neglia Engineering Associates for 2024 for municipal engineering services.
Look, go ahead, Mr. Lapolla.
Okay,
Like
I'm
waiting.
sorry, and I did have, I was.
Sorry.
We all like, let the
I'll
meetings,
get
but
the hang
let's
of it
go.
by July. Okay?
I'm just, so we will be retaining Neglia in an ongoing way.
Yes.
Et cetera. But I just wanted to come back to, I know something you had suggested that in the hiring of our DCS head, that you hope to find someone who's also an engineer.
Yes, we're advertising for that probably by the end of the week, but, we'll see if we get, we
see
can't make it
fine.
mandatory because there's a dearth of engineers looking to work in government right now. And there's, if you check on, like, for League of Municipalities, there are always numerous people looking for engineers. So we're gonna hopefully be able to recruit somebody.
Okay.
But, or not, at least have a staff engineer, but we don't know that yet.
Thanks for the update, okay.
Okay. Next, number 9 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 190 of the Housing Code of the Township of Montclair to add an article regarding lead-based paint. That's pursuant to New Jersey statute, where we now are going to be required to do inspections of all rental 1, 2, and multifamily buildings. So we need to amend our ordinance to be in compliance with the statute. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lapolla. Appreciate that.
That's it.
With objection, we'll have all those on the consent agenda for the next meeting. Be prepared for that. I move the agenda with flexibility. Next, I'm going to open up to public comment. All speakers must sign a sign-in sheet next to the podium. Before addressing the council, is there anyone who wishes to speak for public comment?
I forgot. Yeah, but just sit down and do that. Whatever I have to do. What do I have to do?
Hello, good evening, Mayor Spiller, council members, and Mr. Lapolla. My name is Susan Shin Anderson, and I reside at 14 Forest Street.
Did you maybe push the button?
Okay. I'd like to first of all start by thanking all of you for your service. I recognize that this is, as much as it's a privilege and an honor to serve, it's not easy work, so I do thank you for your service. I'm here tonight to ask, in follow-up to the emails that I have sent, for an update on the establishment of the Montclair Police Department Anti-Hate Crime Community Task Force, supported by a $300,000 grant awarded by the U.S. Department of Justice to this township. I first learned about this opportunity for our town back in January of 2022 through an article in the Montclair Local, as well as through my involvement with AAPI Montclair. Since then, however, I've heard close to nothing on what's been happening with the progress of the grant implementation or the community task force, and whether the police department has moved forward on this grant. The grant narrative presents this initiative as a community collaboration and specifically proposes community events to raise awareness about bias crimes and how to prevent them. I hope that such events and educational programs for the community at large will be part of the grant implementation. There's no question that it's important to educate people about how to identify and report hate crimes, to make sure the police department is properly trained and that there is robust data on hate crimes accessible to the public. However, the majority of bias incidents are never reported to law enforcement or do not rise to the level of a hate crime. So, to me, it's important that there is a plan for us as a community to learn how we can address incidents when we experience them or as neighbors and upstanders through non-law enforcement responses as well. Stopping hate requires community-based solutions outside of law enforcement. I'm sure you know there are many groups and individuals right here in Montclair who have been working to raise awareness about hate and bias crimes and provide opportunities for community members to empower themselves and learn from each other and share resources for how to identify and respond to hate and bias incidents. This initiative and task force is important to the health and safety of our town. And I hope that the township and the council will ensure that this work is done. I respectfully ask that the formation of this task force be prioritized and that a detailed update on the progress of this initiative be communicated. Also, I did review the temporary budget that was in the packet for tonight, and I do want to inquire about whether or not this grant, I didn't see it in the temporary budget, so I would like to know if it is part of the budget, and if it is, if it's folded into another line item. So I appreciate your time, and I would appreciate a response. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for raising this, Susan.
Yeah, Susan, stay there so we get an answer.
So
I'd like to ask.
the grant is absolutely a priority. We had the councilwomen and I who serve on the committee were very thrilled when we got this grant. Specifically as it's moved through, we've run into, I believe, Mr. Lapolla, you can speak to this a little more at this juncture. It's run into where it was housed, right? We had the grant writers who were able to successfully get this grant, but then it wasn't them to manage the grant and make sure they were on top of that grant. It was moved over to staff, and then staff on the police side of things, right? On their front, they were then working with whoever the contacts are with the state to kind of get that work done. I believe there was just a long leave where the person has been out for how long at the state level side of it, and they just came back. You'd be able to speak to that a little more, Mr. Lapolla. Sure. But if you can give us an update as exactly where that is at, and then if we're re-engaging who to do the oversight of that, if
Right.
it's going to be grant writers or others, because I know the police had it or have it, and then, specifically to that, now that the state
Okay.
person's back, like what's the process there?
Sure. And first of all, I want to thank you when you sent the email, because I'll be perfectly transparent here. That was the first time I heard there was an issue with the grant.
Yep.
So after we received your communication, I immediately reached out to the police department, where there were different people, whether it's in the department or the agency that we're dealing with on leave and this and that. I can tell you right now, well, there was an issue with the budget, because we initially submitted one budget. Then I believe through the finance department, had changed it because we wanted to be able to hire personnel, which is not allowed under the budget, under the grant. So we now have submitted a new revised budget, and we are waiting to hear back to make sure, to see if it's accepted. But I can assure you that this is a priority of mine, and as I mentioned before about creating this new position that I would like to create, is that we have grants all over the place. We have, we get money, we're well-intentioned, we apply, but, different departments have capabilities of monitoring and administering grants, and some don't. But we want to make sure that nothing ever falls through the crack. I have a similar grant from the Small Business Administration that I found out about because when I was literally going through my desk, I found a file with the information, and it sat dormant for the better part of a year. So we're doing our best to make sure this doesn't happen, and I will be in personal contact with you to make sure as things develop, when we are back on the budget, et cetera.
Could I ask a couple of follow-up questions, please? Do you
Well,
mind?
I would appreciate it if you can grab Mr. Lapolla. He'll answer all of them.
Yeah,
and
to
have that.
Mr.
and-
Lapolla.
and
That's
certainly-
why I'm
yeah.
at.
I'd like to hear the questions publicly.
Yeah, well, I know, but we have a lot of people waiting to speak at this time, too, and I appreciate that. But you certainly can grab Mr. Pohl. He'll be
Sure.
here, and you
I
can
will.
speak to him
Thank
and
you.
and get all your questions.
Hang
for
on
sure.
hang on a second. I have a question on this. I'm reading the original press release from January 2022. It specifically says that the mayor said that we were going to appoint a committee, which was unlimited in number, but it specifically said that Montclair State would have a representative, the county prosecutor's office would have a representative. It's got all kinds of specific details in here that we were going to have a committee appointed that would be a task force again. Now, we rushed one night here to appoint a task force on leaf blowers that we didn't even need. And we put all the people on it, we put a chair and all, one night. But this has been lingering for 2 years. Why couldn't we have at least appointed the task force that would work with this grant money? We should at least get that done, because it's urgent that we deal with this when we're having these conflicts between various groups in our own community as going on nationally. It's an urgent thing that Susan brought to our attention. So you may not know this, Michael, but the whole press release says in 2022, January, that we're going to have a big task force committee made up of people, including Montclair State students and faculty and whatever.
So Bob, here's my direct question to you again. I believe we got the leaf blower committee because a counselor took the lead and did something about it and came up with it. So if you're so interested, why don't you take the lead in this and create that task force?
I
very
can't create a
similar.
task
Why
force
not?
alone.
You can
I
go
can't
out.
do it.
Listen, you
I'm one vote here.
No, it's not. Lori's one vote, but she was able to go out and get community members who are willing to do it, because it's a lot of times, Bob, you say things and I appreciate what you say, but the bottom line is, if you want to get this task force, you have every right to go out and find individuals to be on it. Because you made the comparison to Division Zero, to the task force for leaf blowers, that Lori went out, got people, they signed up for it,
No,
and
she
we
didn't
created
go out.
it.
She didn't go out and get people. She got a chair of it, a
My
political chair.
point to you, Bob, is if you could take on the role of actively going out and finding people to be on this committee.
Thank you. I appreciate that you think I should do that, and I'll work with Susan on that, because she's been
So,
very persistent.
I'm sorry,
But I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think the mayor wants me to do that.
Excuse me.
It's not
I'm
about
sorry,
whether I
I-
want or not. The grant
Yeah.
actually requires it. It's in the grant. It specifies what has to be
It is, but
done
my
there.
point is,
But
Bob
I
throws
appreciate it, guys.
arrows, and the
But-
bottom line is,
understand. I hear you.
Bob
Throws
can sit
arrows.
up here
I
and get this
nothing
done
but- I
with
get
you.
nothing but disrespect.
I understand, but
I
let's,
threw arrows.
everyone's waiting for their 3 minutes, so appreciate
sorry,
that.
I didn't
So-
mean to cause
didn't
a
cause
conflict
anything.
on the dais. My sole concern is that
get it
we
done.
actually make use of this money. It's a lot of money.
I agree.
And we have a lot of interested community members that are more than willing to work with the police department on the work. So I appreciate your responsiveness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee should be appointed by the mayor and council as a whole, not me. Thank you.
In your comments tonight, I've heard that $11,000 is not that much money. $30 million is a lot of money. $300,000 is a lot of money. $60,000 is a lot of money, and $50,000 is a lot of money. So we talked about money and how much is a lot. What's a lot of money is the $450,000 that's been reported that was misused for health care and waiver payments. And about $50,000 of that went to you, Mr. Spiller. What we haven't heard was how much money us taxpayers are paying for your lawyers to delay the investigation and to tell you guys to take the Fifth Amendment. Because that is a lot of money. And when we talk about money, we need departmental reports. We need to know where our money's going. Because in Montclair, we pay a lot of money in taxes to have an ice skating rink that's problematic, to have schools where things are falling down, to have pools that don't work, to have all these things going on. And Montclair citizens deserve to know, where's the money going? Is it being spent well? Because it doesn't seem like it is. Is it being spent efficiently? Where's the money? Thank you.
Dipping, sorry. All right, so something I really do not think anybody should spend money on is artificial turf. But my opinion is just that of an environmental advocate, so I want to let you know what Dr. Phil Landrigan says. And I'm bringing this up with you because I hope that you redo all the playgrounds or playgrounds that need to be done, and there's a lot of recreational space that kids need, but what we don't need is poured in place plastic and artificial turf or rubber crumb of any kind. And if you don't believe me, please believe Dr. Phil Landrigan, who is the graduate of Boston College, Harvard Medical School, London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, served as Epidemic Intelligence Service Officer and Medical Epidemiologist in the U.S. Public Health Service, assigned to the CDC and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, and was a member and faculty of Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, where he served as chairman of the Department of Preventative Medicine, professor of pediatrics, and dean for global health. For more than 4 decades, his research examined impacts of toxic chemicals on human health and especially the health of children. He's a member of the National Academy of Medicine. He's a retired Captain 0-6 in the Medical Corps of the United States Navy, and he says there's no safe level of exposure to benzene, PFAS, or lead. All have negative health consequences at every level, and children playing on artificial turf are exposed to all of them. So, it's extremely upsetting to me that our public school is putting even more of this toxic material that's full of microplastics and that pollutes our planet in front of my home. The health effects of PFAS are awful. They help metastatic cancer cells move faster. Several of the neighbors in our neighborhood have cancer or fighting cancer, so that's really bad news for us. And there's kids. PFAS also has to do with lower birth weights and a lot of different things. Look it up, it's there. But don't trust me, trust Dr. Landrigan. I have been at conferences that he has spoken at. I have supported the organization, the Children's Environmental Health Center, for many, many years because they give excellent advice. They're not lighthearted about what they tell you not to do. In fact, I think there's about 3 or 4 position statements. One of them is against artificial turf. Let's not use it. We can do better. We are about the environment here in Montclair. I know you all are. Do not put anything on the playgrounds that is toxic for kids, please. Thank you.
Good evening. Just wanted to say I had a fire in my home last Wednesday, and I want to express my gratitude to the Montclair Fire Department for responding so quickly and for their professionalism that limited the damage to my home. I also have a couple of comments about finances. It's come up a bit this evening. If you could add just 30 seconds back to the clock. I was a CPA for over 40 years. I'm an accountant, auditor, trained fraud investigator, and expert in tax-exempt organization, reporting, and compliance. There were 4 years of warnings to the council by the auditors and adopted by certified affidavit by the council. Then on March 9th, the town was alerted that the firewall was down. Now there is an emergency. Oops. The town engaged Biff Duncan based on an emergency purchase justification. There were 4 council meetings before the resolution was approved. What took so long? Biff Duncan charged 40 hours over 2 whole months and failed to address the emergency. And this council hid this firewall problem until June 1st, when all systems became inoperable, resulting in a situation that created a danger to public health, safety, and welfare. A functioning system of internal controls prevents, detects, and deters fraud. A system of internal controls includes submitting purchase orders for authorization via resolution prior to procurement or incurring a liability for goods or services provided. I hope I'm not boring anyone. This town council approves resolutions long after goods and services are procured or liabilities incurred. This town council fails to observe any internal control procedures. There should be monthly financial reporting comparing the actual amounts for the period to date to budgeted amounts for the period to date for all departments. There is no monitoring of financial information by this governing body. I reviewed all of the 2022 agendas and compared them to the minutes. 87% of the 2022 meeting agendas are missing resolutions. Missing agenda items, failure to publish and approve meeting minutes on a timely basis are all tactics used by this council to avoid accountability and transparency. Now I have to take a deep breath and I only have 4 seconds left. Give me just 1 minute, I'll be very quick.
Well, I'll give you a couple seconds to finish up your comments, but thank you.
Well, it has to do with the Mills Memorial Social Services Building Settlement, which was approved by resolution at the November. Just give me a minute because I thanked the fire department up front.
I appreciate that, but again, we heard before, people were waiting before.
Yeah, I know, but other people have gone on.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
Why don't you just let her finish? What's wrong with being flexible? What's wrong with being democratic, open, transparent?
Calm down.
What do you mean, calm down? It's okay. You guys are something. Let the woman finish.
Our democracy.
Eric D'Amato, 25 Norwood Avenue, continuing Sarah Avery's remarks.
Please go ahead.
Sorry. Continuing what Sarah said, the town incurred $29,225 in legal fees between March and July 2023 for services provided by Riker Danzig in connection with the Mills Memorial Social Services Building Settlement Agreement approved by resolution on November 21st. This resolution was not included on the November 21st, 2023 meeting agenda. I have read the settlement agreement several times. None of the Riker Danzig attorneys that Burr consulted with have any tax expertise. The Riker Danzig attorneys never considered the possibility of tax issues or consulted with anyone else with appropriate tax expertise. The settlement terms on page 4 represent that the Placek Family Foundation constitutes a, quote, succeeding corporation similar functionally to the community chest. This is completely false. The Placek Family Foundation is not a charitable entity of any type. Placek cannot make tax-deductible charitable contributions to the foundation, and the foundation cannot purchase the Mills Memorial Social Services Building as it does not meet the criteria of nonprofit charitable entity as per the amended and restated Declaration of Restrictions. Is that it, Sarah?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so for my remaining 1 minute and 16 seconds, I would just like to say that I did not, I appreciate Councilor Cummings going hard and long on this appropriation that was made regarding the Aubrey Group. And I just looked at it. I don't want to draw too many dots, connect too many dots. The principal of the group is a former legislative director to the State Assembly chief. It's clearly an organization that is primarily a political organization. And Mayor Spiller, let me just ask you, if I go looking through your R1s, am I going to find a contribution from that woman to your 2024 campaign?
Please finish.
I'm asking you a question.
And I'm letting you conclude.
Okay, well, I will conclude with that question. I would just like to know, the second question would be, at what point do people recuse themselves? How much do you have to get from a vendor? I mean, we talk about big money now. Is it $200, $500, $5,000? You know, what's the limit? What's the legal limit?
Thank you. And Mr. Burr can refer to the new law that just passed with the answers to those questions, correct?
Yes, and I'll just be brief.
Is your microphone on? Because I can't hear
I'll
you.
be brief. Transparency Act states that reporting has to be done at $200 per contribution to a municipal candidate.
Thank you.
I have a question. Who is the employee Duncan? What is that person's, Miss Avery mentioned employee Duncan? Is that what?
Biff Duncan.
Excuse me?
Biff Duncan, you guys signed a resolution for Biff Duncan
Mhm.
at an April 25th, 2023 meeting for emergency services because of the, let's see, because you can have an emergency requisition of, you know, my understanding is you can have an emergency purchase when there is a situation that could create a danger to public health, safety, and welfare. And Tony Fan produced an emergency purchase justification in connection with the March 9th firewall failure. And his document was dated March 13th. And that emergency purchase justification was not approved by this council until April 25th. There were 4 meetings that took place. So every single audit from 2018 has a comment that you guys have to have monitoring of your cybersecurity, and there has to be periodic reporting from your IT to this council, and that never happens.
Okay.
Never happened.
Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi again, this is Eileen. Just to follow on that, I mean, just looking at the budget, I personally think that our IT department is woefully understaffed for a town our size. I think Mr. Lapolla, you would agree with me. I got my dog license renewal in the mail today, and I'm just wondering why I can't do that by online like so many other towns can just conveniently do. But I do actually appreciate sometimes hearing from Mr. Lapolla, because I think he is helping us sort of look at what is the mystery of why we pay such high taxes, but we sit here and listen to the idea, as you said, Robin Schlager, that every building in our town is falling down, and almost every department in our municipal government is understaffed. It just, something is not adding up. And so I am looking forward to a line-by-line budget presentation this session with both the dollars and the data to back up why we spend the dollars. I think that would be really important for this town. But Mr. Lapolla, I do have a question for you, and I'm actually asking this very respectfully because I really don't want anyone to get in trouble. But my understanding is you're retired from and you receive a pension from the PERS system, and I was under the impression that you were working 3 days a week because of the restriction, the post-retirement restrictions on unemployment. And I'm just reading the rules here, and it says something like, re-enrollment in your former retirement system is generally required if you accept full-time employment in a position covered by that same system. And I believe that the town manager position here is also covered by PERS. So again, I'm asking that respectfully, and you don't have to answer me, really. I just want you to, I don't want you to get in trouble or anybody to get in trouble. So to me, it seems like it might be outside of what's allowed, but again, I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Okay.
And again, I really do look forward to this budget season because I think it's really important for our town to start to understand where our money goes and why. Thanks.
I agree.
Thank you.
Well, I don't want to intrude either, but I'm on a pension after 40 years with the state and all, and I knew I couldn't take a full-time job because of that. So I think it's relevant. Are you going to work 5 days a week, or are you going to be a full-time employee?
I can assure you that I will be in full compliance with the New Jersey pension law and working through with an opinion from the New Jersey Division of Pensions.
Well, that's something we'd like to see.
Hi, again, my name is Lonnie Summer Padilla. I'm a resident of Montclair. I just want to follow up on what Susan Shin was talking about in regards to the Anti-Hate Community Task Force. So I just have 2 questions regarding that. One, will you decide tonight who and how this task force will be created while we are awaiting the funding to arrive? And 2, just, I know somebody on the council said something about staffing, and my understanding is that this actually doesn't need to be staffed, that there are community members prepared to lead on this, including Melanie Robbins, who was here the last town council meeting or the town council meeting before to bring up this issue. I believe she came 2 town council meetings in a row to bring this up. And I know it was said that this was going to be moved on, and now Susan Shin is talking about it. So we have community members who are prepared to lead on this, and we just need to know who is the point person, and we will then be ready to work with the town and police department to get this going. So, this is something from 2022. So I have the article too. So Montclair was granted $300,000 to form the Anti-Hate Task Force to combat a disturbing trend in 2022. I know Mayor Spiller, this was something that was important to you. You are quoted in the article and being very much in favor of this. So here we are in 2024. It's about 2 years since that money was granted. It's really a shame that this hasn't gotten moving since then. And I know that a lot has happened in our town in the last 2 years, but really that's $300,000 laying on the table. So, thank you.
Thank you. And sure, Councilor
Sure.
Schleger.
But also since then, what has happened, it's just been the last couple of weeks, we have an incredible amount of graffiti that's been, that's decimated many of our buildings with terrible things and
With swastikas.
curse words and, and graphics. It's very disturbing. I had a long talk with Jason Gleason, who immediately on the bid they went and tried to remove as much as they can, as did Mr. Lapolla on the township side. But it's still very. They got rid of the really bad stuff, but it's still out there. It's even at the PNC building right next door. When you leave tonight, you could see a lot of it still up there. That was mild. But you're right, Lonnie. It's Exactly. Yep.
So I
Thank you.
volunteer to work on the committee, but I'm not going to appoint it, but I'd like to see Susan Shin Anderson and whoever else you recommend get on the committee. Okay. But I'm not going to appoint a committee. I don't have that authority.
Mayor, just to the extent that we were all a little bit when this came up these couple of years ago, and it's been nothing but frustrating for us as well. So it's not that we are supposed to have done something. It was with the police department. There were things that were filed, I don't know, in ways there wasn't access. It was like a comedy of errors, except for it's not funny. And I don't know where it is now. Do you have a clear understanding of where it is?
Yeah, I think Mr. Lapolla addressed it before, right? The issues, as I understand it too, right, when it was moved over and we had these discussions on our subcommittee.
Yeah.
It moved to the police department, right, and the uses there, Mr. Lapolla discussed it. There was a move, I believe, or whatever, originated from our finance department to change the grant, right, to use those dollars for existing costs, which then weren't allowed. So it moved the grant back. Is that correct, Mr. Lapolla, correct? So once that happened, it was brought back to us that this has occurred. So we've had iteration after iteration where, again, grants have to be approved and it has to go through the state whenever there's a change or even a request for a change. So when those requests are made and then denied, right, then it has to be a different grant, different budget put forward for the grant, et cetera. So Mr. Lapolla has addressed the fact that the approval for the budget use, right, you can be awarded the grant, but you still have to provide the budget. You're not allowed to spend dollars until your budget's approved through the state, and that's the stage we're at now.
There were rules about a nonprofit that was anticipated to be used by the police department, and that the nonprofit wasn't eligible, and it had to be different. And
The
so it's just-
nonprofit
it's
was brought
been-
in, they weren't eligible, had to be
So
different
just so you
nonprofit.
know, Melanie Robbins spoke with Lieutenant Williams about it, and so, he's aware, he's ready to go, she's ready to go.
He's the person who's been
Right.
involved from the beginning,
Right,
so.
no, I'm just,
Yeah, so we know,
Yeah,
we've been talking to
okay.
them.
So let's just do it. 2 years.
So, Robin, I came back to thank you because you brought up the Edgemont Park problems, and I'm sorry, I'm Mariana Horta, I live on Gordon Huss Avenue, and I came back to public comments to thank Robin Schlager for bringing up the issues of safety in the Edgemont playground, and I want to share with you something that happened to me there. I have been using that playground since my daughter was about 1 year old. She's now 5.5. I took the daughter of a friend who was a kindergartner at the time to that playground, and she broke her leg. And I had to drive the child, somebody else's child, to the emergency room, and then, she was uninsured, and I felt very responsible for seeing that girl through her treatment. It was, that playground is a danger to children in this town. This is not something to take lightly. And my in-laws live in Amherst, Massachusetts, which has an average tax that is less than a quarter of ours. And their playgrounds are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Their police and fire departments cost a very small fraction of what ours cost. We have a problem with safety that we spend so much money in public safety that we can't keep our residents safe. We really need to reassess our priorities. This department that can't get its act together to implement a grant doesn't have the appropriate grant controls. It has over $25 million. This department could easily be run by a John Jay PhD. We are spending money in that department to have people of a really high level, and we just don't, right? And it costs so much money. Meanwhile, we have historically low crime rates. We have very, very little crime. When that happens, we need to move priorities. It's so great that we don't have the crime that we had in this town 30 years ago. Let's celebrate that and spend our money elsewhere. We shouldn't just have 112 officers forever, independently of what crime trends are in this town. We need to use data to make budget decisions. And we need to hold every department accountable for how they spend money and why they need the resources they say they need. Because not spending money in our playgrounds actually keeps us unsafe. Not spending money on other things makes us less safe. Not spending money on pedestrian safety and infrastructure makes us less safe. We need to reassess our priorities when it comes to our budgets. And we need to hold our department heads accountable. Thank you.
As you know, I'm Chrissy Thomas. I've been a resident for 54 years. I'm a product of the Montclair Public Schools. I went to Edgemont, Mount Hebron, Glenfield, Montclair High School, class of '87. I went to Wesleyan, UVA, Penn, Georgetown. I got a BA in political science, an MBA, a master's in public policy, and a law degree. I've worked in the White House as corporation counsel for the city of New York. And after working as an insurance defense attorney for McCarter and English, I became a trial lawyer. I want to fight for people that have no voice. That's what I do. Some people don't realize that they're being abused because their abuser keeps telling them that they love them and that they're protecting our democracy. Enough with the abuse, Mr. Spiller. You gave us 2 minutes with the hope that we would not call you out. We're done letting you talk down to us and say thank you while cutting our time short. It's not permissible that after the meeting, after public comment, you talked about changing the amount of time that people can speak without it being on the agenda. You then had the audacity to vote on it. And Mr. Burr called me unethical because I said he was quoting the wrong law and that that Robert's rules will not and does not ever supersede OPMA. And those are the requirements for what you're required to do as a council. When you vote, you have to have a written resolution. If it's an emergency, you are required to tell us what the emergency is. And before you vote, you are required to put it down in writing, and it has to be read onto the record. People like Robin and Bill and Sean and Roger and Bob should all know what the procedures are and how they make governing fair. It's not so that we can come here and call you out on things. It's so that we know what you're doing. And we know that you're getting money from the people you're giving contracts to that we don't need. We already paid $400,000 for the Clary Anderson study. You know that. It's unbelievable that you decided to vote on contracts that you haven't read. How dare you? It's obscene. And when you don't listen to people like Sarah Avery and you don't listen to people like Eileen Birmingham who come with facts and figures, it's offensive to us. We are not your money bags that you can't just keep spending our money. $65,000 in taxes is a lot. And that's your whole salary for somebody that you want to hire, and you're part-time. I didn't mean to call you some random white guy. I meant to say that we value diversity, we value people that know what they're doing, and most of the population of Montclair to get here had to get educated. Do your job better.
Ilmar Vanderer, 127 Edgemont Road. Good evening and Happy New Year. Tonight, Councillor Schlager made a very salient and sobering point about attempting to balance multiple competing budgetary priorities. However, all of the troubling building and infrastructure issues mentioned certainly did not arise overnight, and in fact have been lingering, accumulating, and snowballing for many years. Simultaneously, many councillors here tonight have been in office for multiple terms, some nearly for a generation. So it is all too apparent and rather astonishing that more has not been done sooner to address such urgent issues. Truly good government attempts to anticipate and continually correct such factors, especially physical infrastructure, which is constantly observable to the naked eye, and then lead proactively on this instead of always governing from behind, in hindsight, after the fact, when things have reached a crisis point. As I'm sure you all know, the members of the voting public who are at this very moment watching, listening, and remembering have placed their trust in each of you to be accountable for everything that has occurred or has not occurred under your collective, very protracted, seemingly endless watch. Meanwhile, addressing the proposal for creating an additional vague, bureaucratic, seemingly redundant position in the manager's office, all I can say is, with all due respect, is that our municipal government is responsible for running Montclair, not New York City. So it seems like a dose of reality is needed here. Welcome to 2024, and let's hope that Montclair sees much better days, which are yet to come. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, I'll close public comment. Thank you very much. And with that, we will move into executive session with Resolution R24012, resolution authorizing executive session without the public being permitted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12B, litigation and personnel. I so move. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
We sure there wasn't anybody else who wanted to come up and say something, ask questions? Yeah, it would be on them, but people are asking me to raise.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will come out of executive session. Thank you very much. We've got two items. First is the appointments to the Montclair Early Childhood Corporation Board of Trustees. The appointments there, clerk, that you will then notify, and I so move.
Second.
It's appointments, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So appointed. Second one, which we had discussed in public before, this is a resolution expanding the hours, meaning the days, for our interim manager, Michael Lapolla, moving him to 5 days a week from the 3 days a week, address some of those concerns that we had shared publicly before, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings absent. Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. All right, thank you very much on both of those. Madam Clerk, anything for good of the order?
No, no report, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lapolla?
None
Mr.
for me.
Manager?
Thank you.
Mr. Attorney?
Mayor, nothing to report.
Thank you. Mr. Deputy Mayor?
I'm good, thank you.
Councilman Schlager?
Happy New Year.
Mr. Terry? Councilman Terry?
Also, Happy New Year.
Councilman Russo?
Yeah, I'm not going to say Happy New Year, I'm going to say New Year's resolution. I promise to do whatever my wife wants me to do. Now, here's what I did do tonight. Before this meeting, I went to the County of Essex swearing in of the commissioners, and I gave the program here to Councilor Abrams, Price Abrams, but it's Carlos Pomares from our neighboring town of Bloomfield has been elevated to be the chair of the commissioners, and Brendan Gill is, of course, sworn in again. Now, those two and others I spoke to and lobbied for our approval of the speed limit changes, as we've all done, but I was very, very visible there, was introduced among all the other mayors and council members. But I made sure Montclair's presence was known. And that's what I went there for. It was a rush because it started at 6, quarter to 7. We rushed up here. My wife drove me back. So I want to thank my wife publicly for doing that and helping me get here to serve the people. And I want to say again that I just do not agree with what we're doing on all these issues. And I do not agree with how we cut people back to 2 minutes. And I think that what's going on in Parsippany should be looked at because the mayor there has cut back to 90 seconds for people to talk, and they could only talk at the end. And I see how tonight we sort of modified it a little. We let people talk a little more at the beginning, but your new rule seems to say they cannot talk about just general issues. It has to be on the agenda. And then the comments at the nighttime, or at the evening, were to be after the executive session. I'm glad you didn't do that. But watch what's going on in Parsippany, because there's a young councilman who is fighting with the mayor and the rest of the council over real restrictions on public input. I think we should have an early session and a late session. Limit the early session, as Councilor Cummings suggested, to 2 hours at the most. Give everybody at least the 3 minutes, but I'm suggesting 4 because that's what Verona does. Bloomfield actually does 5. They don't have all these lines of people coming up complaining, and they're complaining because we're not getting things done. We're not solving problems. Now, there's no need for 20 people to come every week about Clary Anderson Arena, about speeding or whatever. They should be handled by the manager before time so that we don't have to spend all of our time answering these questions. And I do respond to people. Some people don't like that I do that, but that's the nature of my life. My whole life is responding to people, handling consumer constituent complaints. I did that for the Public Advocate, for Consumer Affairs. I teach it in my classes at Rutgers, Kane, and Montclair State. So I know people don't like me answering people, but people look for answers. And I didn't get answers tonight myself, but I didn't pursue it. And I disagree with this entire decision to hire a full-time manager when in 4 months we may have a whole new council. Good luck to you all.
And I'll just specifically note that I think very proud of getting a ton of stuff done, including rent control, as we started this meeting with, talking about when one of the residents came forward. I think that's life-changing and impactful, and very proud to have helped move that and been the key sponsor on that.
I was the key sponsor on it, Mayor. I was the key sponsor for years. For years.
That.
You keep taking credit for things that not
Thank
you only did. You didn't do rent control alone, Mayor. You didn't do it. Renee Baskerville, Dr. Baskerville did it before you and me even thought of it.
Once again, I don't interrupt you. Thank you. So I will again say very proud of rent control that we've accomplished here. And certainly I use another example, the appreciate talking about things, but the rink is another great example. Very proud tonight to be moving forward, not voting no, not saying, wait, but actually doing things. Mr. Lapolla, very happy that we're bringing you in 5 days a week to get things done. That is what is the, I think, a hallmark of the service that we need. It started years ago with getting things done around paving streets and doing infrastructure work, and we continue in that space. But it's also getting things done when we talk about skate parks and other funding that we've done over the years, Robin, and appreciate the leadership and work there. It's getting things done when we talk about, yes, the rent control and some of the other measures we've talked about, ADUs and affordability. Thank you, Councilwoman Price Abrams. It is, when we talk about all of these pieces, I know you've been doing it for years, Councilman Terry, so I thank you. But that is the work that we do, and I'm very proud of it. And it does mean taking action, not voting to not move on anything or abstaining on pieces. So I'm very happy with that. Councilwoman Price Abrams?
Thanks. I really just will say Happy New Year to everybody as well, and feel like, we have, this council has 6 months. I think there's a lot left that we want to take on, and we have our sleeves rolled up, and we have a lot of work still to do. So thank you.
I would just say, Ms. Mayor, if I could real quick, I hope I'm not out of order. I did stuff too. You mentioned everybody up here but me. I'm a little hurt. I know it's 11 o'clock at night.
I looked right at you when I
know
said
you looked at me,
paving
but everybody's name got mentioned. and No one saw you looking right at me. That was me. He looked at me, everyone.
For the camera, for notice, I was looking at the deputy mayor. Right, very good point.
It's not funny. Mayor Robert
Deputy
Jackson
mayor,
did a lot of
yes.
these things too.
So it's great.
Mayor Robert Jackson is forgotten here.
The rest of us actually do like to have a little fun up here. So appreciate it. Thank you to everybody.
It's not funny.
And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.